What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. Naruto destroys Sasuke Chunin exams Kakashi bashing. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Here, that the scroll and leave us alone, shouted Sasuke. Ku, the strange grass nin chuckled. The hand that was waiting to catch the scroll that Sasuke had tossed was secondary as the strange nin was suddenly struck by a rock. They all looked up and saw Naruto standing on a higher branch, a very pissed off look on his face. He leapt from the branch to put himself between his team and the nin. His normally laughing blue eyes were cold as steel and slitted in the center. He managed to catch the heaven scroll that Sasuke threw. "Sorry I'm late, something tried to eat me that I didn't agree with," he said. A relieved look graced Sakura's face. He then looked at Sasuke. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Teme?" Naruto said, his voice rising. "He was more powerful than we are, I had no choice," yelled Sasuke. "And what color is the sky in your world, you dumb bastard, that made you think he was just going to let you go after you gave him our damn scroll?" Naruto shouted right back. Ku. "Very observant of you, Uzumaki," the grass nin said, her voice becoming more raspy and masculine. "So, my little pet didn't finish you off. I must admit, you did take me by surprise. You've impressed me, Naruto-kun. I'm quite surprised to see you're still standing after taking on a summon of that size." Naruto snarled. "You'll find I'm just full of surprises, hubby Teme." Grass nin chuckled some more. "Perhaps you'll entertain me more than the so-called Uchiha prodigy. Be warned, little genin, no matter how good you think you are, I am far above your level of skill. After all, I am one of the legendary Sannin. I am Orochimaru." The nin finally introduced himself to Naruto. "I don't care if you were Kami herself," Naruto shouted. "I will not let you harm my friends." Orochimaru watched as the blonde in front of him began to change. He saw Naruto's nails elongate into claws, his whisker marks widened and his canine teeth became more pronounced, while his spiky hairstyle became even more wilder and untamed. He saw the slitted blue eyes turn blood red. The boy crouched low and let out low, but menacing growl. "You are the Yondaime's legacy, aren't you, Naruto-kun? It doesn't matter, you are nothing compared to my power." Orochimaru started to chuckle again. Sasuke and Sakura could feel the killing intent coming from their blonde teammate. Orochimaru's was enough to freeze them in place and make them feel helpless, but with Naruto's added, it was overwhelming. Sakura was on her stomach from the force of it. Sasuke was on his knees. Both genin were trying to back away from the force they were feeling. Naruto looked over his shoulder from where he was crouched. His voice was rough. "What's the matter, afraid scaredy cat?" Orochimaru used that second of distraction to attack. "Hidden shadow, many snake hand," he shouted. Sasuke barely managed to dodge the dozens of snakes that shot out of Orochimaru's sleeves. Naruto seemed to vanish in a blur, only to reappear above the snakes, which he started to run down their length. Orochimaru had a shocked look on his face as Naruto sliced his face to shreds with his claws. However, Naruto's victory was short-lived as the Sannin and his snakes turned to mud. "Fuck," Naruto cursed. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end and he managed to jump out of the way as a gigantic snake, even bigger than the one that had tried to eat him earlier, attacked him. "Is this all you got, hubby Teme?" he yelled as he stood in front of the snake, his clawed hands clenching as he prepared to fight in a moment's notice. The snake however turned and went straight for the frozen Sasuke, who could only watch in horror as the giant serpent came at him, its fangs dripping with venom. Naruto growled and appeared between them once more, his fist impacting with the side of its head, snapping it away from its target and impacted with a tree before vanishing in a puff of smoke. Naruto glared at Sasuke. "Why are you just kneeling there, coward?" Sasuke glared at Naruto, but it had the same effect as water hitting a window, because all he could do was stand there and tremble in fear. "Why aren't you even trying?" Naruto hissed at him as he cocked his fist back and slugged the kneeling Sasuke in the face. "Snap out of it, Teme." Sasuke was angry at Orochimaru for attacking them and reducing him to a small child. He was angry at Naruto because everything he'd said was true, and he was most of all angry at himself for being weak and a coward. It was how he'd acted back when Itachi had slaughtered their family. Sakura could only watch the battle taking place before her, It was beyond anything she could do and anything they should be able to do as a team. Yet her eyes watched as Naruto, not Sasuke, was fighting off a legendary Sannin by himself. You are definitely interesting character Uzumaki Naruto. But I cannot allow you to interfere any further with my plans. Not even with the power of the nine tail can you stand up to my power. Orochimaru said, reappearing. Naruto growled, big mistake Hibiteme. Naruto leapt at him and the two were blurs of motion. The only thing marking their passing to the naked eye was destruction of several trees and branches. If it weren't for the blasted Kyuubi, I'd make his body my next vessel rather than the Uchihas. Orochimaru thought to himself as he was forced to avoid the claw swipes from the blonde. Naruto smirked, seeing Orochimaru's look of irritation mixed with surprise and fear as he kept him on the offensive and away from Sasuke. Hey, scared Hibiteme? Naruto snarled as he kicked, swiped and did his best to tear the Sannin's face off. The blonde was breathing heavy at this point. Orochimaru, seeing an opening with his years of experience, he opened his mouth and stretched his tongue out and wrapped it around Naruto's ankle and flipped him into the air. Orochimaru quickly went through a series of one-handed seals. He caught Naruto with his tongue, securing his arms and torso. The blonde struggled and kicked with all his might, but could not get loose. Orochimaru noticed the seal on Naruto's stomach around his navel. Opening his right hand, small purple flames appeared on each of the snake Sannin's fingers. 5 elements seal. Orochimaru mentally shouted as he slammed his hand against Naruto's seal. The blonde's scream of pain filled the forest. All over, everyone heard his pain. Naruto! Sakura screamed. Sasuke-kun, do something! They could only watch as Naruto's features receded. His blood-red slit eyes returned to their normal unslitted blue. His clawed hands returned to normal-looking hands and the whisker birthmarks became thinner. His canine teeth shrunk back down. Orochimaru chuckled as he threw Naruto into the nearest tree after confiscating the scroll the blonde genin had taken from Sasuke. He smirked as he looked at the other 2 genin and incinerated it. Naruto slammed against the trunk of the tree. Sakura saw him beginning to fall and frantically threw a kunai. It snagged Naruto's trousers. She turned, hearing Sasuke scream, and watched as Orochimaru's elongated neck was withdrawing. Sasuke slumped unconscious. What did you do to Sasuke-kun? Sakura rushed to the boy's side. Ku. He's not as advanced as I would have liked. He will know what I've done to him soon enough. He will seek me out. Do not get in the way. I spare your life this time, girl. And with that he faded away, his laughter leaving Sakura chilled to the bone. Naruto. He did something to Sasuke-kun. Sakura yelled. She looked where her blonde teammate was, and frowned. She went closer and stopped dead in her tracks. What the hell? Who are you? Hanging where Naruto had been was a slender girl with curves, long blonde hair that if she wasn't dangling would be down to her narrow waist. Sakura looked closer. The girl had whisker marks like Naruto and she saw the clothes were a size larger. "En Naruto?" she whispered. Sakura was lost, she had no idea what to do. Both of her teammates were unconscious and for some reason, Naruto was a girl. And better looking than me. Sakura mentally whined. What am I to do? She asked her unconscious teammates. Sakura looked at her blonde teammate. After she struggled to get Sasuke down to ground level and in the hollow of a nearby tree, she'd gone back and gotten the blonde down. For nearly an hour she'd looked at the blonde. She could see some similarities, but that was it. I mean, the face is narrower, the eyelashes longer, the hair, she'd touched it out of curiosity and sighed. Her hair is so soft and silky, it's not fair. She saw the whisker marks were still on the blonde's cheeks, and it reminded Sakura of that Waijutsu she'd seen Naruto teaching the third's grandson. But she's fully clothed, and they don't fit very well. She'd opened the jacket and saw that she was defiantly well endowed in the chest department. She saw strange burn marks on the blonde's stomach and what looked like the remains of a seal. Sighing, she went and wetted a cloth and put it on Sasuke's head. The Uchiha had a high-grade fever, and his breathing was low, but steady so far. Sakura looked for other wounds on Naruto. She kept calling her that in her mind, for she didn't know what else to call the blonde laying there, but had found nothing else. I could have sworn her hands should be cut up, but they're as smooth as mine. Sakura remembered how quickly Naruto always seemed to heal, and wondered about that. She'd asked Kakashi back during the wave mission, but he ignored her. As always, Sakura grumbled as she got a cool cloth and put it on Naruto's forehead. She'd put the headband on the ground next to her. What did he do to you, Naruto? I saw a flash, but I didn't hear him say a jutsu. She said to the blonde. Sasuke's still out, and the area where that freak bit him is red and puffy. I injected him with a basic antidote from our field kit, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Sakura had taken to talking to the blonde, to keep herself awake after she set up the camp. You know, if you really are a girl, I want to know why you've hidden yourself like this. And if it's something that the freak guy Orochimaru did, I hope the Kakashi-sensei or the Hokage can fix it. She wet the rags again. You know, I won't let you steal Sasuke-kun if you are a girl. I remember you kissed him on our last day at the academy. Now that I think about it, you hussy, stay away from my Sasuke-kun. Naruto just laid there unmoving, her breathing shallow. Sakura would swear she was sleeping. For hours Sakura talked to the blonde about haircare to cosmetics to fashion tips. You know, Ino sees you, she's going to demand you go shopping for new clothes. Orange doesn't really suit you anyways. Greens and blues with your complexion and hair coloring. Sakura sensed something and turned to see a squirrel coming towards them. She launched a kunai at it, scaring it away. That was close, she thought. It could have been disastrous if that little critter had set off any of the traps. Sakura thought. She checked on Sasuke, saw his bandages needed changing, so she unwrapped his forearms and reapplied the healing cream, and then wrapped his forearms. Baka, why didn't he say he was hurt from our earlier encounter? Sakura thought with a sigh. Boys, they're such. She looked at Naruto. Maybe when you wake up you can explain the male mind to me. She heard a twig snap and her head whipped about to see three ninja with musical notes on their headbands. Oh no, Sakura thought as they stayed at the edge of the clearing. Naruto came awake to the sound of battle. Gah, everything hurts, like the time the villagers celebrated my 7th birthday. Cracking an eye open, he winced as the brightness of the rising sun cut through the trees and just happened to smack right into his eyes. With a groan he woke up to see Sasuke of all people standing over another nin, and from here Naruto could tell that the guy's arms were broken. He saw Sasuke was covered with strange black marks. He saw Sakura hugging him from behind and she seemed to look like he felt. He reached up to scratch the back of his neck, and found really long hair in the way. What's wrong with my voice? Naruto asked. Sitting up he felt something odd and looked down. His scream alerted Team 10, Team 9 and his teammates that he was awake, with a very girly scream. Neji led his team away. He didn't care what drama was going on, as 10-10 carried the battered and bruised Lee. Team 10 however were in shock seeing Naruto. Sasuke, who had calmed down, looked from the new scroll his team had acquired to where Naruto was. He blinked. Shook his head and blinked again. What the hell happened to the dobi? Sakura was already across the clearing trying to calm the blonde down. Guess this answer my question if he was a girl before. Sakura thought. She went to her knees next to the panic-filled blonde. Naruto, Naruto, she said, trying to get through his 100-mile-an-hour babble. When that didn't work, she did the only thing she could think of when Ino freaked. She slapped the blonde. Naruto's slender hands cupped her cheek as big blue eyes looked at Sakura and they began to fill with tears. Stop that, Sakura said. Calm down, Naruto. See, calm down? Naruto repeated, dazed, then she looked at Sakura. You slapped me. You were babbling incoherently. I had to stop you and you weren't listening. I do the same thing to Ino when she heads off into her land of babble. I don't babble. Naruto and Sakura looked up to see Ino standing there. What happened to you? The other blonde said, her eyes moving up and down Naruto. Orochimaru did something to him. I saw him become as she is now. Sakura said for both Ino and Naruto. I didn't hear a jutsu however, but his hand signs were one-handed. Ino looked at the pair. Well, you both look terrible. I'll fix your hair. You especially, Naruto, that's going to tangle if we leave it as is. Naruto's hand went to her hair and she whined. I only ever had long hair in my waijutsu. He looked at Sakura. I can't. Sakura put a hand on her teammate's shoulder. Keep calm. I'm sure once we get to the tower Kakashi-sensei will know what to do. Ino styled Sakura's hair. What a hack job forehead. We'll have to trim it properly after the exam, Ino said. Then her eyes fell on Naruto. And yours, not to mention clothes. I'm sure you're a knockout, but those clothes will be burned. What? Naruto yelped. There's nothing wrong with my clothes, she said, standing up, and her pants fell down around her ankles. Ino snapped her head around and saw Shikamaru, Choji and Sasuke looking. Turn around, you fucking perverts. Three boys spun so fast there was an audible snap. Naruto had his pants up and sat back down, a blush on her face along with a hint of frustration. This is the Tami's fault. I just know it. Ino and Sakura heard the whiskered female mutter, neither corrected her. Shikamaru leaned under the tree. So, he destroyed your heaven scroll, and now you've gotten a new one. Sasuke growled. What one do you have? Sadly, a heaven scroll as well. This is a drag. Choji, sitting near his friend, was munching on chips. So, Shika, you think they'll fix whatever happened to Naruto? Too troublesome to worry about. Besides that, it's not our concern. Sasuke snorted. Dobi, it would only happen to him. Shikamaru leveled a look at the Uchiha. You know, if it can happen to him, what's to say that it can't happen to you, Uchiha? Think about it. If an enemy nin has developed a gender jutsu, they could take prisoners and sell everyone off as breeding stock. That will never happen to me. Sasuke said. I'm an Uchiha. Yeah, and if they can turn you into a breeder, think about that in your small little world, Uchiha. They make you female and have you pump out babies. The three males shuddered. I feel sorry for Naruto. Choji said. He and Shikamaru were friends with the blonde, having built up an alliance with the amount of time they spent together after school while in trouble. I'm sure that the senseis will fix it, Shikamaru said, but Choji, being his friend for so long, heard the thread of doubt. What is taking so long? Sasuke muttered. Shikamaru snorted. He'd known Ino since he could crawl, even though it was troublesome. They're probably fixing Naruto up. His clothes are too big on her new frame. Choji whistled, drew their attention to where the girls were coming out of the tree hollow. Naruto's pants had been cut down to shorts, the shirt that had been shredded was a crop top exposing tanned belly. The belt had several new holes in it. Naruto's jacket was the only thing mostly intact. The strips from the shirt and pants were used as wrappings around the legs. Why'd you cut up his pants? Sasuke asked. They were shredded, Sakura said, pulling Naruto along. They watched as the said blonde wrapped her now slenderer arms around her midsection. Her blue eyes seemed sharper. What the hell are you assholes looking at? Shikamaru shook his head. The package might be different, but the attitude was all Naruto. You done, Ino? He asked. Said blonde sighed. For now. She looked at Naruto. And no biting your nails. They're atrocious. We'll have time later. Forehead, keep an eye on her. Him. Damn it to hell, Ino, I'm a boy. Naruto yelled at her. Not right now, you're not. Ino said as she joined her team. See you at the tower. Team 10 left. Naruto was muttering and cursing. Sakura felt bad for the blonde, she really did. Naruto sighed. I gotta pee, she said and wandered off. Sakura closed her eyes and counted down from 10. She got as far as 7 when, where the hell did it go? Sakura sighed and went to calm the blonde while Sasuke grumbled about useless blonde dobies. They'd made it on the dawning of the 5th and last day. Team 7 had found a scroll amongst a group of dead Iwa ninja, and had made their best speed towards the tower. Naruto swore someone was following them, but Sasuke would answer with, stop being such a whiny bitch. You're imagining things. Or, grow a fucking pair, dobi, it's just insects or a wild animal. By the dawning of the 5th, Sakura had had enough of Sasuke's treatment of Naruto, surprising them all when she slapped the Uchiha hard enough to knock him ass over end. Stop being such a royal bastard to her, Sakura said as she stomped up to the Uchiha. She's hurting and you're being a bigger prick than usual. Sasuke held his cheek and looked at her in shock. You hit me. Adjust, Sakura said, stomping back to Naruto, who had her back to them and was trying to stem the flow of tears. You okay? Sakura asked softly. Fine, I just got something in my eye is all. Naruto said, wiping the tears from her eyes on her sleeve of her very battered jacket. Sakura rubbed her back. It'll be okay. Promise. Sakura smiled. I'm here, and I won't leave you alone. Sakura couldn't understand it, but this version of Naruto pulled something in her, something that didn't let even Sasuke abuse the blonde girl with them. You hit Teme. Sakura blushed and looked over her shoulder to see Sasuke sulking against a tree. He needed it, she said. I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, I used to be able to take shit like that and fire back. Sakura had an idea, but she didn't want to say it aloud. Come on. The tower is ahead and we can see if Kakashi-sensei can fix this. Naruto nodded and wiped her eyes again. Come on Teme, let's get this over with. She called over her shoulder. Sakura had to admit, the twin ponytails suited her. My hair wasn't that long. I'm going to have to show her how to brush it out. Snarls will be something vicious since it hasn't been washed in several days. Team 7 left the forest and made their way into the tower. Hey, no one's here. You think we're the first? Naruto asked after they muscled the door open. They had discovered the blonde still had his stamina, but her strength was weaker, and her chakra control, as Naruto put it, is back to the way it was in the academy. Sakura read the writing on the wall and noted the spaces. I think we need to open the scrolls here, she said. Sasuke and Naruto snapped them open, and they began to smoke. Throw him, Sasuke ordered, and they tossed the scrolls. A flashbang later and Iruka Amino was standing before them. Congratulations on, Iruka-sensei. Am I glad to see you? Naruto rushed forward. En Naruto? Iruka remembered the Waijutsu and closed his eyes and clamped a hand over his nose. Sensei, something's wrong. Will you stop it with that stupid jutsu? Iruka yelled using his big head jutsu. Iruka-sensei, it's not that. Sakura said. We ran into some trouble in the forest. They explained what happened and Iruka looked at the blonde female before him. I'll inform the Hokage, but you don't have time. The next part of the exam is about to begin. You just made it. He led them out of the foyer and deeper into the tower where they entered the arena. You just made it, he said. Join the others, I'll speak with the Hokage. Iruka shushined away. Team 7 looked at the other teams gathered and Naruto whimpered as everyone turned to see her. Sakura grabbed Naruto's arm and dragged her forward. Let me go. Naruto whined. You can't make me. Entering the tournament hall, they could see the others already gathered. They were lined up by team, one teammate behind the other. Naruto went behind Sakura, who was behind Sasuke, letting the Teme take position of team leader, as he didn't want to be seen right now. First off, congratulations on passing the second phase of the Chunin exam. A Jonin said. We will now have an explanation of the third phase of the Chunin selection exam from our own Hokage. Everyone listen up, and listen well. With those words, the elderly third Hokage walked forward to the edge of the raised platform, and coughing out some smoke from the pipe he'd been smoking, began to speak. The third exam will begin. But before the explanation, there's one thing I want to make clear to all of you. The Hokage said in a tone that required any decent person to pay attention. It's about the true purpose of this exam. In other words, why we do a joint exam with the allied nations of this region of the world. To maintain good relations with the allied nations and heighten the level of the ninja, were the reasons you have probably heard, but do not let them deceive you. The exam, so to speak, is. The old man was obviously a lover of theater as he took a moment to puff on his pipe a moment in order to build up the suspense a bit. The epitome of a war between the allied nations. Third finished, leaving no mistake in his voice. What do you mean? Tenten asked from her position behind Rock Lee. If we go back through history, the allied nations right now were neighboring countries that have fought each other over and over again. To avoid wasting military power, those countries decided to choose a place to fight. The Hokage replied as he explained his earlier statement, that is the beginning of the Chunin selection exam. Naruto sighed, she was bored and the old man was droning on, and couldn't keep her mouth shut. Why do we have to do that? Naruto asked, sounding like she didn't understand anything beyond the surface meaning of what the third had said. We're not doing this to select Chunins. Sarutobi, seeing the blonde for the first time, let his eyes widen, but due to years of experience he managed to hide it without anyone seeing his reaction, and he used his pipe to gather himself before answering. What are you playing at, Naruto? He thought before speaking again. Yes, this exam does examine those who are worthy of the Chunin title. But, on the other hand, it's also a place where ninja fight and carry their country's dignity. Replied the third Hokage. In this third exam, feudal lords and famous people from various countries who may be potential clients are invited here as guests. And feudal lords from countries with hidden villages and ninja leaders will see your battles. If there's a significant difference in power, the strong country will be flooded with jobs. If a country is seen as weak, their jobs will decrease. And at the same time, countries are able to show how their village has grown and possess excellent military power to the adjacent countries. In other words, they can put foreign pressure on them. So why do we have to fight with the risk of losing our lives? A foreign nin asked, sounding like he didn't approve of being used in this manner. A country's power is the village's power. A village's power is the ninja's power. The Hokage replied promptly, and a ninja's true power is only born in life or death battle. This exam is also a place to show off the ninja power of one's country. Since this is an exam where you fight with your life on the line, it has a meaning, and your predecessors have fought and dreamed of being in the Chunin exam because of it. But why do you say it is to promote good relations? Tenten asked, clearly a bit uneasy about not being told all this beforehand. I told you at the beginning to not get it confused with that. The custom of saving one's life and fighting to maintain balance, that is the good relation in the world of the ninja. The Hokage said, sounding a bit irritated that one Konoha ninja was still thinking what they'd been told earlier was important. This is a life or death battle for your dream and the village's dignity. A silence fell over the room as the gathered genin soaked in what the third Hokage of Konoha had just told them. Naruto blew out a breath of air. She wanted to say something, but something in the back of her mind told her to keep her mouth shut this time. Hugging her midsection, she kept her head down and pouted. Come on, get this over with. I need OG-san or Kakashi-sensei to fix this. The dual ponytail orange-wearing blonde thought. She hated the feelings she was experiencing and the looks a lot of the male genin in the room kept shooting her. I don't care, said the gourd-carrying sand ninja with impatience. Tell us the details of this life or death exam. Then I will now begin the explanation of the third exam, but... The third said, but before he could go further, one of the ninja who had been standing behind him appeared kneeling before him. Excuse me, Lord Hokage, said the long-haired ninja who wore his forehead protector like a bandana. I, Gecko Hayate, the judge, will explain. Please do, the Hokage said, not sounding bothered in the least at being interrupted. Everyone, it's nice to meet you, Hayate said stoically before having a slight coughing fit and turning halfway to look at them. Everyone, before the third phase of the exam, cough cough, there's something I want you to do. Fight in some preliminary matches to see who gets to advance to the third phase's main fights. Preliminary matches? What do you mean? Asked Shikamaru, sounding like he was something other than annoyed like usual. Instructor Sama, I don't understand what you mean by preliminary matches. Sakura said in a more respectful manner than Shikamaru from Team 10. Why can't we just start the third phase of the exam with the remaining examinees? In this case, it must have been because the first and second phases of the exam were too easy, I don't know. Hayate replied with a sigh as he spoke, but there are too many examinees left. According to Chunin exam regulations, we must decrease the number of participants before we can proceed with the main matches of the third phase of the exam. As previously mentioned by Lord Hokage, there are many guests for the third phase of the exam, so we cannot just have a lot of matches. Muttering from the gathered genin at this. We are limited on time as well. So those that aren't feeling well, Hayate said before getting stuck in a coughing fit for a few seconds, excuse me. If anyone wants to quit after hearing the explanation, please let me know. The preliminary matches will begin immediately. This was not met with much approval from those teams who had only arrived today or yesterday, since they were still in the process of recovering from the exertion of making it to the tower. Naruto paused as he mentally considered skipping out and getting his situation fixed. I forgot to mention this, but you will have one-on-one matches from here on out. Hayate said, sounding a little embarrassed at forgetting such an important fact, so please withdraw if you wish. Sakura looked over her shoulder at Naruto, who she saw was cutely biting her bottom lip thinking it over. She saw movement out of the corner of her eye and turned to see Sasuke wincing and putting his hand over the place where Orochimaru had bitten him. We're in no shape for this. I should tell the proctor. Naruto is still not recovered, even with her ungodly stamina, but she should pull out and get taken care of. Sasuke, we should pull out, Sakura said, whispering only to have the Uchiha snarl at her. I will not lose. Keep your damn mouth shut and mind your own damn business. Sakura wanted to hit him like she had when he'd insulted Naruto. She was about to bring the bite to the attention to the Hokage and gathered Jonin on the raised platform when the genin they'd met in the classroom, Kabuto, raised his hand. I'll quit, he said with a soft smile. This caused a whisper fest among the other examinees since the glasses-wearing Konoha genin didn't seem to be all that banged up. The guy looked completely unharmed, which made his quitting the exam puzzling to the others. "Let's see, you are Konoha's Yakushi Kabuto?" Hayate asked as he looked through the clipboard of info he had in his hand. "You may leave, then." "Kabuto-san, why are you quitting?" one of his teammates asked, clearly showing that he didn't understand. "I'm sorry, but my body is completely worn out already from the forest, and we've just gotten here." Kabuto replied from his place on the edge of the assembled genin. "I doubt I'll be able to put up much of a fight in the next phase, so I'd rather not embarrass myself by continuing." After saying a few hushed things with his teammates, words that were definitely not friendly even though no one couldn't make them out clearly, Kabuto exited the room. With a cough, it sounded like Hayate was about to resume his work as judge for this phase of the Chunin exam. "May I assume that there are no more people who wish to withdraw?" Examiner Gecko asked, letting his eyes pass over the remaining genin. This led to Sakura once again trying to raise her hand to draw attention to Sasuke's cursed seal, but her efforts were stopped more forcefully this time as Sasuke clamped down hard on the hand she was intending to use. "Don't you fucking dare," Sasuke hissed. Naruto, meanwhile lost in her own mind, decided to stay and see what he could do, despite being in the body of a girl at this time. "Nothing is going to stop me from becoming Hokage, and if that Habiteme thinks this sick jutsu or whatever it is will stop me, I'll show him, and next time I'll kick his ass for sure, believe it," the blonde thought to herself. "Then, let's begin the preliminary matches," Hayate said, clearly ignoring the conflict occurring in Team 7. "It will be a one-on-one match. In other words, it will be like real combat. Now that we have exactly 20 people, we will have 10 matches and the winners will be able to advance to the main part of the third phase of the Chunin exam. There are no rules. You will fight until the other person dies, is knocked out or admits defeat. If you don't want to die, please give up immediately." Several people looked nervous again. "However, if I judge that the match is over, I may stop you to prevent any unnecessary deaths," Hayate said, making everyone wonder why the guy wasn't in a hospital. "The thing that will determine the matchups will be this." As the examiner spoke those words, one of the panels on the scoreboard that was built into the wall was pulled up to reveal an electronic bulletin board. This electronic bulletin board will randomly display the names of the two fighters for each match. Hayate said in his usual stoic manner, "Without further delay, I will now display the names for the first match." Looking up at the bulletin board, they watched as the names went by at a rapid pace and Naruto wondered if it would be his name that appeared. It was soon revealed that fate had a different member of Team 7 in mind when it determined the matchup for the first battle. Akudu Yoroi vs Uchiha Sasuke. "Those whose names were displayed, step up," Hayate said with his hands behind his back. "The first match's fighters are Akudu Yoroi and Uchiha Sasuke. Are there any objections?" Neither fighter stated that he had an issue with the matchup. "We will now begin the first match," Hayate said before coughing a bit. "Everyone other than the two fighters, please move up there." With his left arm the man indicated the balconies that existed on either side of the room about 15 to 20 feet off the ground. Without further delay, all the genin as well as the Chunin and Jonin present began to go to one of the balconies in question, with those from Konoha noticeably sticking closer to the people they knew. The balcony on the right side of the room soon held Team 8, Team 10, Team 9 and Team 7 with Naruto dragging her feet. The balcony on the left side of the room had only the sand ninjas, but from the looks on their faces Fangirl, Pajama Boy and that creepy ghoul didn't mind having it nearly all to themselves. Kabuto's other teammate and the sound team were further down from them near the other set of stairs. Naruto, seeing Kakashi against the wall, rushed up to him. "Kakashi-sensei, am I glad to see you." Calm down Naruto and drop the henge. Watch Sasuke's match, you might learn something. It's not a henge, I need to talk with. Enough Naruto. Watch Sasuke's match, Kakashi said again, ignoring the blonde's chatter. Sasuke. It's always about the teme. I need your fucking help and all you worry about is. That's enough, Kakashi said, stepping away from the blonde. I don't want to hear about this prank, Naruto. It's time you grow up and you take responsibility. He stepped away from Naruto and went several feet away. I will talk with you about this behavior and your blatant jealousy later. Naruto's slender hands tightened into fists, her nails digging into the palm of her hands so hard they drew blood. This isn't a prank. Naruto stopped as Kakashi turned away and went to the other end of the balcony. Naruto felt a tear slip down her cheek and she closed her eyes. Damn you, sensei. I need your fucking help and you continue to ignore me. You speak of taking responsibility. You don't know the meaning of the damned word, you thrice damned hypocrite. Naruto felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to look at the bearded face of Asuma Sarutobi, the Jonin instructor for Team 10, and the Hokage's son. Naruto? She nodded. Ino and Shikamaru told me what happened. He shot a look at Kakashi, who was watching Sasuke's fight and ignoring everything else. We'll talk to the old man after the prelims. Thank you, Naruto said, her voice was low. At least someone cares. Asuma shot Kakashi a hard look. You stupid bastard. I swear, since you wish to play favorites, then fine. You can have your precious Uchiha, Hitaki. We'll take the rest of your team. Asuma thought. He'd never liked how Hitaki played favorites. He'd watched the man giving the Uchiha special training after dismissing the rest of the team. And Naruto needs the most help and you've shown him nothing, and now he is in trouble and pain and you continue to ignore him. Sasuke's match ended with him stealing a move from Rock Lee. After Hayate announced him the winner, Kakashi vanished with him using a Shushin. Shino Aburame of Team 8 defeated his opponent of the Sound Team by clogging his arm weapons with his Kikai bugs and blowing them up, ending the other boy's career as a ninja. Kankuro of the Sand Team defeated Kabuto's other teammate with a puppet and poison. The genin didn't survive as medic nins rushed to save him. Naruto watched as Ino and Sakura fought. Neither showed much, but they had a good foundation of the basics and they fought using those. While they fought, they continued to exchange insults. Ino picking on Sakura's looks and hair. They talked about their past friendship and how they broke it off over Sasuke. Sakura surprised everyone when she said it was a foolish thing to do. She missed her friend. After that they picked up the action. Ino cut her own hair in an attempt to trap Sakura, and she did, using a mono wire she'd thrown with the hair to immobilize Sakura and use her family jutsu, the famed Shintenshin no Jutsu, the mind-body switch. Naruto heard Shikamaru talk about it as he explained it to Kiba and Rock Lee. Naruto watched as Sakura's hand was coming up. Come on, Sakura-chan, fight it, don't go down like that, Naruto yelled. This drew the attention of the pink-haired girl, as well as the rest of the eyes in the hall onto the slender whisker-marked blonde. In the arena below, Sakura managed to regain control and eject Ino. Both girls were nearing exhaustion and in the end it came down to them charging one another and punching one another in the face, sending them both flying. Hayate checked them both over. Both are unable to fight. Due to a double knockout, no one passes the fourth preliminary match. Hayate announced to the spectators. Naruto was surprised to see Kakashi appear and with Asuma gather up the two kunoichi and return them to the balcony as neither was hurt enough require attention of the medics. Naruto knelt by Sakura's side, ignoring Hitaki. They'll be fine, Naruto, Asuma said as he pulled out a cigarette. They'll wake up in a couple of minutes. Below 10-10 and Temari's match went on, with the Suna kunoichi dominating 10-10 who couldn't land a hit on the fan wielder. Temari was announced the winner. Her antics after the fight brought on some drama as Lee caught his teammate from being seriously harmed after being slammed in the spine with the huge metal fan and then thrown towards a wall while unconscious. Shikamaru won his match against the Sound Kunoichi by using his shadow possession jutsu and having her knock herself out. Next fight, Naruto Uzumaki vs Kiba Inuzuka. Hayate announced the names off the board. Naruto looked at Sakura, who'd woken up during the last match. Well, go on, the pink-haired girl said with a grin. Show him what you got. Naruto meanwhile was feeling uncertain now that her match had arrived. Hey, look at this Akamaru, looks like we've got us an easy win. Kiba crowed. Naruto's eyes narrowed at this. He could hear the others around the dog user agreeing with this. He looked at Kakashi, whose nose was buried in his book, not even paying attention. I'll show them, Naruto thought as she leapt from the balcony to the floor below. Kiba snorted. So you're a chick now? Doesn't matter if you're hot, you're still going down. Naruto's eyes narrowed. I'm going to kick your ass, Kiba. Bring it on, bitch. Killing intent flooded the arena, causing everyone to look at the blonde now. The blonde in the middle of the arena floor was surrounded by a vortex of purple chakra. I am not a bitch. I am Naruto Uzumaki and I am a boy, god damn it. A boy? Kiba laughed. Not according to my nose, bitch. The vortex of chakra exploded faster and the floor around Naruto was scorched. "That's it, asshole, I'm going to kick your ass," the slender blonde said as she took up her fighting stance. In the balcony, Sakura's brow rose. Where did he learn that? Naruto's never fought like that before? Kakashi looked over his book and raised an eyebrow. Why hasn't he dropped the henge? He asked Sakura. The pink-haired Kunoichi scowled at her team sensei. If you would have listened to Naruto you would know. Then as an afterthought, how's Sasuke? He's fine, Kakashi said, already going back to his book, figuring Kiba would decimate Naruto in no time, not concerned about the blonde at all. Sakura scowled and looked at the arena. Come on Naruto, kick his ass. Hayate sighed as he raised his arm. Ready? Both competitors nodded. Fight. Kiba stood there sneering. So, a girl, I'd ask how, but, he shrugged as he put Akamaru aside and told him he could do this on his own. I really don't care. I mean, this is just showing everyone that you're dead last, both as a boy or a girl. Now at least the outside matches the skills on the inside. The Kunoichi around the room glared at the Inuzuka male at this comment. Above Kurenai, his sensei scowled at this. Kiba, you're pushing it. Whatever Kiba, you're full of hot air. Naruto said. Oh yeah, Proctor, get ready to announce me as the winner, as I'm going to win this with just one punch. Kiba moved fast and the blow connected, sending the blonde flying into the arena wall. Tisk, told you, Kiba said and turned away. Above with those watching in the balcony there were many snorts and agreements. Sakura however was watching the shattered wall. Her hands were gripping the rail tight. Silently she was repeating, come on Naruto, get up. Don't fail here, get up. Below Kiba is still boasting, well come on and announce it already. Hayate shakes his head and coughs. Why not? The Inuzuka demands. Because that was a cage bunchin. A female voice says and Kiba finds himself pulled into the ground as the blonde Kunoichi appears above him now. Learned that watching Kakashi doing the same thing to the Teme. Yeah, Sakura yells and smiles as her teammate is showing what she can do. Kakashi lowered his book and those that know him can see the frown at Naruto using a technique he demonstrated. Back in the arena Naruto back flips out of the way as Akamaru becomes involved, allowing his master to dig himself out of the headhunter jutsu. Ah come on Akamaru. Naruto whined as she dodged the dog's bites. She didn't see Kiba and it took him grabbing her ponytails, wrapping the long hair around his fist and kicking her legs out from under her, before she realized he was free. Listen here bitch, Kiba said as he yanked her hair hard, exposing her neck. No one disrespects me like that, not some dead last whore. Gasps filled the balcony. Well it's over now, Kakashi said as he put his book away. I'm going to check on Sasuke. He shushined away without caring about his student. Sakura glared at where the man had been, but her eyes snapped back to the arena. Now you give up, before I rough you up, Kiba said as he pulled on Naruto's hair harder, his foot on her legs, kept Naruto from getting her feet under her and taking pressure off. Fuck you Kiba, Naruto snarled as she swiped at him, but he blocked it then slapped her with a backhanded blow across the face. You need to learn your place bitch, Kiba said, yanking Naruto's hair harder and forcing her head back. Perhaps a good taming. Would you like that? Do you need to be claimed? Naruto's eyes widened as Kiba sniffed her neck and his free hand squeezed her. Stop that. I'm going to kill you Kiba. Naruto yelled as she struggled. Akamaru backed away, not liking how his partner was behaving. Hey, like you can bitch. I'll mark you as mine and you'll be my personal toy. How do you like that Naruto? Above in the balcony, all the Kunoichi were getting pissed. Kurenai was glaring at her student. We will be having a long talk after this Kiba, and your mother will be present as well. Stop it, Sakura was saying. Ino was next to her. Both girls were looking upset at the scene below. Sensei, Ino said as Asuma stepped up behind them. It's a sad thing, but it could happen in battle. A captured Kunoichi could be raped. He said. Both teens looked at him. But doing it to a fellow nin, even in this tournament is wrong. He looked over and saw that Kurenai was as pissed as he was. Kiba might win this match, but he won't survive the lecture, that's for sure. He muttered as he turned back to the fight below. Kiba was groping Naruto's ass hard. You have a nice rack, bet you're tight as hell. Naruto's eyes changed. They went from their normal blue to having slits. Kiba didn't notice the darkening of the whisker marks nor the elongation of fangs and claw-like nails. I'm going to kill you. Naruto swore, her voice becoming deeper, more guttural. Above, Sakura had a flashback to the forest. Kiba never saw the clawed hand snap up and he howled in pain as Naruto's claw-like fingers sliced his arm. He let her go as he backed away in pain. Naruto rolled and then a kick up. The purple chakra was back. "You pathetic mutt. You think you can do that to me? I am going to make sure you never reproduce again." Naruto blurred into motion and Kiba was kicked hard with a sidekick and sent flying. Naruto blurred again and a spinning kick sent Kiba flying off into another direction. Naruto seemed to shimmer again, those watching seeing a blonde blur. The younger generation not knowing what was going on, but the older ninja recognized it. Asuma felt the cigarette in his mouth fall and he whispered a word that hadn't been heard in Konoha since the death of the fourth Hokage. Hirishin. Kiba was sent into the air by a flip kick. Naruto was about to move when Akamaru tackled her. Kiba hit the ground and rolled. He lay there watching as Akamaru and Naruto rolled around on the ground, Naruto's claws leaving bloody gouges in the nin dog's side, while Akamaru clamped his teeth into the blonde's shoulder, shredding the jacket. Kiba whistled and Akamaru backed off. All three competitors in the short amount of time were now bleeding. Akamaru winced as he moved. The claw marks in his side told him he'd pissed off the blonde female, and he could understand her anger. She was an alpha in every way and Kiba disrespected her badly. Kiba ripped his jacket and bandaged his arm where the slashes were. He didn't take his eyes off the blonde. Naruto was on her knees sucking in huge amounts of air, which had many men in the arena focused on her heaving chest. She looked at her jacket and peeled it off, wincing as she felt the bite mark from Akamaru on her shoulder. She touched them and sighed, seeing they were already healing. Seeing where Kiba was looking, Naruto scowled. Why are men such perverts? With a sigh she stood and drew several shuriken. Kiba smirked. This is over, bitch. He tossed Akamaru a pill. He performed a series of head seals. Man-beast clone. A puff of smoke and Akamaru transformed into a perfect copy of Kiba. Naruto threw the shuriken and leapt into the air, narrowly avoiding the oncoming vortexes of man and dog. Man, I narrowly avoided getting pulped there. Naruto thought as she flipped and landed, seeing Kiba stop before connecting with the wall. Funny thing was she could smell which was which. You know, Kiba, you really need to take a bath. The blonde taunted. The Kiba on the right growled. I give you a bath when I'm done. He snarled. Fang over fang. Naruto leapt again, but not quick enough as one of the spinning vortexes of destruction caught her ankle and she fell to the ground. Kiba was on her in a second, pinning her to the ground. Hee hee, not so tough now are you, Naruto? He said, leaning in and sniffing along her neck. Naruto was panicking as Kiba straddled her and had her arms pinned above her head. Get off me, Kiba. Don't think so. In fact, I think I'm going to get a taste of you now. He said, sneering as he lowered his head closer. Naruto did what any woman in her place would do. She bit Kiba's nose as hard as she could, drawing blood. Kiba reared back screaming in pain and was half on his knees when Naruto struggled out from under him and kicked out as hard as she could, her foot connecting with Kiba's privates. Every man watching from the balcony winced and covered their own manhood in sympathy while the females present cheered as Kiba deserved it for his behavior. Naruto rolled and came to her feet, glaring at Kiba. Get it through that thick rock you call a head, I'm a boy. Naruto with a spin kick staggered Kiba back. The Inuzuka boy staggered back, still holding his teeth-marked nose. Naruto, however, was not in the mood to let up and went with alternating left and right roundhouse kicks that Kiba either avoided or blocked with a forearm. Naruto went to a handstand and started spinning kicks, driving Kiba back. Ah, that's it. Akamaru, get the bitch. Kiba whined as a kick slipped through and sent him to the ground, again wrapping his wounded nose. Naruto flipped to her feet and saw the Kiba clone lunge. Oh no you don't, she said and ducked, and as the Kiba clone Akamaru went overhead, Naruto kicked her leg into the air from where she lay on the ground on her back. Akamaru's eyes widened as he reverted back to normal, and once again, everyone winced as poor Akamaru was balanced on the flat of Naruto's slender foot, via his balls. Naruto flexed and dropped the whimpering dog to the ground. Sorry Akamaru, but... Kiba tackled Naruto to the ground, pushing her face into the ground as he straddled her once again. Kiba using a hand held her wrists together as he ripped off his belt. Stop struggling, he ordered as he bound her hands together. Naruto didn't listen and bucked, and then her eyes got wide as she felt something. You sick bastard, Naruto screeched as she tried to throw the Inuzuka boy off. Hey, you like it rough, I'll give it to you rough bitch. Hell, if you're still wild when I'm done I might let Akamaru have a go. The room went deathly still at this. Kurenai was pissed at her student beyond belief. Hinata too was glaring at Kiba. The usually shy Hyuga heiress was mad at her teammate for treating the blonde like this. She was shocked when she'd seen Naruto arrival. During the fight she activated her Byakugan and was shocked by what she saw. Naruto's chakra paths were larger, and the weird gathering she used to see around the boy's stomach was gone. Hinata wondered what happened to Naruto during the exam. It had changed him drastically. Below, Naruto continued to struggle and those watching could only stand by as Kiba fondled the blonde, humiliating her in front of everyone. Sakura spun around looking for her sensei, but he wasn't there again. She spotted Team 10's sensei. Asuma sensei, you've got to stop this. Naruto? Naruto's not done. Look, Asuma said, and they both looked down as a second Naruto appeared and kicked Kiba off. The new Naruto pulled the bound one to her feet and unbound her hands, tossing the buckle aside. Cage Bunshin, Sakura said, but she was amazed that the blonde did it without hand seals. Below, the now freed blonde adjusted her top from the manhandling Kiba had done and leapt at the dog boy. Her leaping kick was blocked, but she landed and spun on her hand with a leg sweep. Kiba hit the ground hard with an umph. Naruto stood over Kiba and then proceeded to kick him repeatedly in the crotch. The proctor was shocked as Kiba's eyes rolled into his head. Meanwhile, Naruto was ranting. Don't you ever treat a woman like that again, or I swear as Kami is my witness you shall be neutered, you thrice damned. Hayate called the match, winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto wasn't listening as she continued to kick Kiba's balls in and ranting. It took Asuma shining down and pulling the irate blonde away and dragging her up to the balcony. The whole time she was spewing threats to Kiba's manhood which he didn't hear as he was unconscious in pain. The medics loaded him onto the stretcher, and Akamaru as well, the dog whining and vowing never to cross that blonde again. Asuma set Naruto down, and the blonde slumped against the wall. Now that she wasn't fighting, the adrenaline wore off and she began to shake over what Kiba had threatened to do. Why, I'm a guy, Sakura was there and put an arm around the blonde's shoulder. Naruto broke down and cried against her while below the rest of the matches went on below. Neji obliterated Hinata's confidence and she gave up after a few moments of his taunting. Gaara of the Suna Ninja and Rock Lee destroyed most of the arena. In the end, Gaara won. Lee was saved by his teacher and carried away by the medics. Choji lost his match to the Sound Ninja that they'd encountered in the forest. Naruto had calmed down during the Gaara-Lee match and watched as the heavy boy lost to the Sound Ninja. They took a 10-minute rest period while the arena was repaired. Kakashi still hadn't returned and Asuma put a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder. We'll see the old man after this, he said, and Naruto nodded. To those who have made it to the main matches of the Chunin exam's third phase, all but one are here, so congratulations. Hayate said from his place on the raised platform with the Jonin and the Hokage standing behind him. Naruto realized that Sasuke wasn't back. Figures. It's always the Uchiha, the changed boy thought as he pulled the shredded jacket tighter about the female frame. I will now begin the explanation for the main matches. The third Hokage said, taking the spotlight away from Hayate, your main fights will be shown in front of everyone. We wish for all of you to show off your abilities as your country's representative power. Therefore, the matches will begin in 1 month. We're not going to do it right here, right now? Naruto asked, clearly not seeing a reason for things to get delayed so long. The 1 month is a time to conduct appropriate preparations. Sarutobi replied while holding his pipe. What do you mean? Shikamaru asked from further down the line of qualifying genin. In other words, we are going to announce to the feudal lords and head ninja of the individual countries that the preliminary matches have ended. The third replied, looking towards the one who asked the question, and time is needed to gather those people for the main matches. This is also time for you candidates. I still don't understand. Explain, stated an irritated Kankuro, who looked like he wanted to give the Hokage a piece of his mind with the aid of his puppet. This time is used so you can know your enemy and yourself better, explained the old man with no emotion in his voice to indicate that he noticed Kankuro's tone. It is a time to analyze the information you have gathered during the preliminary matches. The battles we had were just like real combat situations. It has been done where both parties knew nothing of each other. But the main matches will not be like that. There are those who have revealed everything to their rivals. To make things fair, work hard and improve yourselves on your own in the next month. So, I want to let you guys go, but there is something important we must do before the main matches. The Hokage said with a slight grin. Naruto growled, "Hurry the fuck up, OG-san." The blonde thought, "You need to fix this and I need to get some major training in." The sound ninja was just as impatient. "Will you hurry up, you old goat? Don't get so hasty. Take a piece of paper from the box that Hayate is holding." The Hokage said as the proctor stepped forward. "I will come to you, so please wait your turn," Hayate said with a cough. Naruto was the first to be approached, and doing his best to ignore the looks he was getting from the others, reached into the box and removed a single piece of paper. This went on and on down the line until every genin present had a piece of paper in their hand. Once done, it was apparently examiner Ibiki's turn to take over the post-preliminary proceedings. "Okay, everyone got one?" Ibiki asked, holding a clipboard in his hand. "Now, tell me what number you got, starting from the left." 1. Naruto said, making it clear he was still clueless as to the reason for this and making the sound nin mutter about airhead blondes. 7. Tamari said with about as much emotion as a rock would have. 5. Kankuro replied. 3. Gaara said in his usual creepy manner. 9. Replied Shikamaru, and everyone that knew him could just tell he wanted to add "troublesome" to his response. 2. Neji said coldly. 6. Was what Shino revealed. That leaves the Uchiha with 4. Ibiki said in obvious reference to the missing Sasuke. "Yes, we will now tell you the matchups for the tournament." The third Hokage announced to the genin arrayed in front of him. "What?" Naruto exclaimed in surprise. "That's what we drew for?" Shikamaru asked, shocked, managing to keep his favorite phrase at bay. "Ibiki, show the matchups," the Hokage ordered. The matchups were as follows. Match 1. Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. Match 2. Gaara vs Sasuke Uchiha. Match 3. Kankuro vs Shino Aburame. Match 4. Shikamaru Nara vs Tamari. Dosu vs the winner of Match 4. "I have a question," Shikamaru said, raising his hand like he was in a classroom. "Okay," the third said, giving permission for the genin to speak. "If it's a tournament, that means there's only one winner, right?" Shikamaru asked, as though confirming his own suspicions. "Does that mean that only one person can become a Chunin?" "No, that's not how it is," the Hokage replied, as though about to explain things. "The main matches will have judges, including me, the case cage, as well as the feudal lords and head ninja from the other countries, who will be potential clients. These judges will grade you by watching you in the tournament. And those who are qualified to be a Chunin, even if they lose in the first round, will become a Chunin." "So there's a possibility that everyone here can become a Chunin?" Tamari asked, sounding more interested than before. "Yes, but that also means that it's possible for no one to become a Chunin," the third replied, pointing out another point of view. "Winning the matches in the tournament means that you are able to show off your skills more. Understand?" From the look on Shikamaru's face, you could tell that "troublesome" was being used multiple times since the Nara boy was in a longer night with an extra fight. Tamari looked as he did not happy with what she'd heard. "That is all. We are adjourned until next month," the third said, declared, dismissing the assembled ninja. His eyes went to Naruto, who didn't move as the other ninja filed out. Sarutobi lit his pipe and motioned for his son. "Let's take this to my office. I'm sure this has to do with my errant student." Asuma nodded. "Oh yeah, it also will deal with Kakashi's negligence." The bearded Jonin growled. Sakura was standing next to Naruto. "Come along, Sakura, I'm sure you have most of the tale to tell us," Asuma said, and both Sarutobi males noticed how Naruto seemed to relax at hearing this. Hokage's office. For the last hour the two genin explained to the Hokage what had transpired in the forest, from the fight with the snake and Orochimaru, to Naruto's transformation. The young blonde looked at the Hokage with wide blue eyes. "You can fix this, OG-san. Right?" The Hokage looked at the eyes filled with hope, trust and fear. "Asuma, send for Hiashi, Anko and Jiraiya. He's near the bathhouse. Tell him that if he's not here I'll ban his books in Konoha." Asuma nodded. "We'll see, Naruto," Sarutobi said. "Let me see the seal, please," he said, standing up. The blonde pulled off the remains of her jacket and went with the ram seal. Chakra surrounded her, purple. Sarutobi looked and frowned. Hold still. He ordered and went through a series of seals. His eyes widened and Asuma came back in. I sent messengers, what's wrong? Get Eboshi here now. Asuma went to do what he was told. He heard the concern in his father's voice. Oji-san? Naruto asked, her voice squeaked. Sarutobi dropped into his padded seat, his hand shaking as he reached for his pipe. Lord Hokage? Sakura said, concern in her eyes for her teammate. The jutsu I performed. The old man was suddenly feeling his years. Shaking his head. We'll wait for my personal doctor as well as my student Jiraiya. I could be wrong and I don't want to panic you. Too late for that old man. I've been a girl for several days and everything feels wrong. I don't know what I'm feeling, and I feel fat and bloated. Sarutobi's eyes widened as he heard a phrase he hadn't heard since his wife passed and his daughter-in-law moved out with his other son. Would you like some chocolate? The Hokage asked, praying he would stem the blonde's questions until the doctor got here. Please Kami, get Eboshi here quickly. I swear I won't read Icha in the office anymore if you get her here soon. You know what's wrong, Oji-san? Naruto asked. Sakura was looking away. She was going to let the ultimate ninja take this one. Deals off Kami, I'm going to put in overtime on Jiraiya's books. Sarutobi thought. When the people that the Hokage requested arrived, they found the strange sight of a blonde girl curled up on the couch with a hot water bottle and a girl with pink hair sitting with said blondes in her lap softly humming to her. They saw the Hokage on the far side of the room by the window, his pipe sending up smoke clouds as his gaze was on the monument. Lord Hokage? Anko said. He turned seeing his doctor, the snake Jonin, his son, Hiyashi Hyuga, and he frowned seeing Jiraiya missing. Where's Jiraiya? He asked. Asuma coughed. He'll be along in a moment, he was. Get him here now. Get Jiraiya here now and tell him. They noted the panic look in the Hokage's eyes. Ease up old man, you'll have a heart attack. A voice said and they all turned to the window where Jiraiya slipped in the window. And what's so important that you pulled me away from, my research? I need you to examine Naruto's seal. Sarutobi said. Fine. Where is he? She is on the couch. Sarutobi said and all eyes looked at the blonde hugging a hot water bottle to her. Jiraiya's eyes widened. You're joking. No. The third spent the next several minutes explaining everything to those gathered. Eyes would slip to look at the girl on the couch. Jiraiya walked up slowly to the pair on the couch. Naruto? A pair of blue eyes looked up at him and Jiraiya could tell the blonde was getting more and more freaked with each passing moment. My name is Jiraiya. The older man crouched before the couch. I'm one of the third's former students. He's asked me to look at your seal, to see what Orochimaru has done. Jiraiya was speaking low and calmly. I understand it's been several days. Can I see where your seal was, please? The blonde girl moved the hot water bottle and Jiraiya told the blonde to stay where she was. He went through numerous hand seals and his frown deepened with each one. Eboshi, could you come here please? The Hokage's personal doctor did and Jiraiya moved a bit. Can you run a diagnostic please? What's wrong? Naruto asked. Jiraiya held up a finger for a moment. Eboshi ran several tests, her brow wrinkling more and more. This is not possible, she said looking over her shoulder. Jiraiya sat on a chair near the couch. What? Anko finally asked. The suspense is killing the rest of us. Eboshi put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Congratulations Sarutobi, she's a girl. Naruto sat there looking at the white-haired man that introduced himself as Jiraiya. The others went to the side and were talking. You can fix this, right? She asked. Sakura looked at the man as well. Jiraiya contemplated telling a lie, but he hated giving false hope. No. It seems whatever Orochi Teme did, combined with the seal you already had, well Gaki, it fused you and the Kyuubi. It rewrote your entire DNA structure and as far as I can tell, the Kyuubi was female and in an act of desperation imprinted herself on you as the seal Orochi Teme did was meant to cut you off. The Kyuubi fought and, he sighed. You are 100% female now. Naruto shook her head. No. No. She shook her head faster and faster, sitting up and backing away from everyone. This is a dream. I drank stagnant water or something. This is all a dream. I want to wake up now. Sakura reached out and Naruto backed away. No. This isn't real. I can't be a girl, I can't. Across the room Eboshi was talking with the Hokage. The scans I ran are positive. Naruto is female now, and she's just started her period. Asuma and his father winced. What's more is she's going to need to learn about her new body as well as things a kunoichi should know. Anko looked at the blonde starting to freak out. Someone better get a tranquilizer. They looked on as Jiraiya tried to calm the new girl down as he explained. Where's her sensei? Eboshi asked. Asuma scowled as he walked away. Busy sucking off the Uchiha. Sarutobi listened after they managed to calm Naruto down as Jiraiya explained the mess that Orochimaru has made. The Kyuubi is dead. The Gaki girl here has all the chakra, and from what I heard instincts similar to an Inuzuka. Excuse me? Sakura asked from where she was sitting on one side of Naruto. Asuma was holding the shuddering blonde and talking softly to keep her calm. When they looked at her she looked down. During Naruto's fight with Kiba, that purple chakra. Jiraiya nodded. It would be the end result of the merging. Naruto's normal chakra was blue-white. The Kyuubi's chakra was red. He clasped his hands together locking his fingers. Together they are 100% merged into this new chakra. He looked at the shuddering blonde. Did you notice it was becoming easier to control? For a moment it looked like Naruto wasn't listening, but when she spoke, her voice had a minor tremor to it. At first, it was hard to use, like I was back at the academy, but by the time I fought Kiba, it was becoming easier, and when I got mad when he. Asuma felt her shake. It's okay Naruto. It will be okay. No it won't. I'm a girl. How can that ever be okay? No one had an answer for the blonde. Jiraiya decided to continue. With some proper training, I bet within a month you'll be better than ever with your chakra control. Eboshi looked at the blonde. We'll have to do some tests and update your medical file. What medical file? Naruto asked. Well, you have been to the hospital, right? The Hokage's physician asked. Naruto shrugged. When I was brought in after a beating, they would wait till Oji-san left and then kick me out. I doubt they made a file for me. Behind his desk, Sarutobi growled and shared a look with his son. The two Sarutobi males who haven't seen eye to eye in some time came to an accord. Sadly the hospital staff was soon to be undermanned as a result. What now? Naruto asked. Well, we're going to need to get you new clothes, new hygiene products, a full physical. Eboshi listed off. She grabbed the Hokage by the ear as he tried to slip away. And Sarutobi-kun is going to pay for it all. Right, Lord Hokage? The eldest male in the room gulped and nodded, knowing if he didn't his doctor would set him up for a prostate exam faster than Jiraiya could peep on the women's bathhouse. Anko and Sakura here will help explain things. Both kunoichi looked at the doctor who just control. I meant about the Chunin exam. Naruto said and Sakura couldn't help it laughed. The hospital was the first stop. Naruto was ushered into a room with Eboshi while Anko had gone to get the blonde some clothes that hadn't been mauled. Sakura was waiting with the two Sarutobi males and strangely, Jiraiya who was lost in thought. Sakura, what are you doing here? Sasuke isn't allowed visitors, Kakashi said. The pink-haired girl looked up at him and shook her head. Waiting for Naruto, she said. Well shame he lost to Kiba, but there is always next. Naruto beat Kiba, sensei. Sakura said. Kami, he really does suck as a sensei. She thought in disgust at the fact he gave no credit to her blonde teammate. She ignored the voice in her head until Naruto had been transformed she was just as bad. Well, I'm afraid I won't have time to train him. Kakashi said. I was told that Sasuke will be fighting Gaara of the desert. I'll need to make sure he's prepared. What about Naruto? He's facing Neji Hyuga. Sakura asked. Asuma off to the side listened very carefully. He noticed his father and Jiraiya were under genjutsus hiding them, and since Kakashi didn't have his Sharingan uncovered they weren't detected. Kakashi waved it off. While I'm sure Naruto got lucky with Kiba, probably that strange henchai told him to drop and he didn't, but he is outclassed by the Hyuga. No, I need to focus on Sasuke as Gaara is the dangerous opponent. What about? Sakura began but was cut off. I'm sure that I can get someone to keep an eye on Naruto. Asuma who had been listening stepped out of his genjutsu. Don't bother Kakashi, I'll help Naruto. Asuma. Kakashi turned towards the other Jonin. There's no need, I'm sure I can make arrangements. Besides don't you have your own students to worry about? Kakashi said trying to get the other man to go away. Shikamaru has advanced true, and I will help him as well as Naruto. Oh, there's no need to do that, Asuma. Naruto is. Kakashi began but was cut off as the Hokage stepped out of the blind. Naruto is under my watch and Asuma has offered to teach him where you have done nothing. He is my student and I have shown us nothing, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura said, and she looked down as he narrowed his eye at her. I have spoken with Naruto and Sakura and after some time they have admitted that the only thing you showed them was tree climbing. 2 months after having them, and taking them on a C-ranked mission. The Hokage said as he lit his pipe, ignoring the nurse at the desk who cleared her throat and looked at the no smoking sign. As of now, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno are no longer your students. What? You can't mean that, Lord Hokage. I need this team too. Kakashi said, but was cut off again, this time by Asuma. To pander to the Uchiha's ego. You are sacrificing 2 careers for your fixation on helping the Uchiha due to some guilt you hold over the death of your teammate. Don't go there, Asuma. Kakashi growled. Enough, the Hokage roared. Kakashi, Team 7 is disbanded. Train the Uchiha for the finals of the Chunin exam. Sakura and Naruto will be given over to new teachers, they are no longer your concern. Asuma snorted. They never were in the first place. Kakashi looked at the bearded Jonin, then gave a stiff bow to the Hokage before walking away. Minato would be disappointed in him. Jiraiya said, releasing the genjutsus. That name sounds familiar. Sakura said, turning to look at the white-haired man. Jiraiya smirked. He was Kakashi's sensei. He believed in teamwork and never favored one student over another. He looked at the Hokage at this last part. Minato didn't care about clans or bloodlines. He believed in giving each student his full attention and teaching them all equally. They were quiet before Sakura asked, "What will happen to Naruto and I now?" Asuma was saved from answering at the shrill yell from the exam room. "You want to put that where?" Naruto exited the exam room, and Sakura saw the blonde was beet red. "Pervert." She heard the blonde mutter and the annoyed doctor walk out. "Get back in that room." "No." "Yes, move it." "No chance in hell," Naruto said. "Get your skinny ass in that exam room or I'll make you." Eboshi snarled. "You couldn't find a wet dream around Kakashi," Naruto said, crossing her arms over her ample chest. "Where are my clothes?" the blonde said, looking at the others. She didn't get far as Eboshi reached out and grabbed her by her pigtails and dragged her back to the exam room, kicking and screaming. The door slammed shut and glowed as Eboshi activated the security jutsu. Sakura looked at Asuma. What was that about? The bearded Jonin looked at the pink-haired teen like she was insane. And how would I know what goes on during a female exam? Jiraiya off to the side couldn't help but laugh. Sarutobi looked at his former student. "Get Tsunade here." "And how am I to do that, sensei?" Jiraiya asked. "She wants nothing to do with Konoha, and you know why." The third Hokage sighed and looked at his former pupil. "Walk with me, Jiraiya, there are some things you are not aware of." Sakura watched them go and turned back to Asuma. "What will happen to Naruto and I now?" she asked. "We'll take care of that, Sakura. We'll get both of you up to par with the training you should have had to start with," Asuma said as he took a seat once more. Sakura started to fidget, she hated waiting. "You did well against Ino, despite your lack of training," Asuma said. Sakura shrugged. "Truthfully, I didn't do so well. If Naruto," she looked at the door. "If she hadn't called for me, Ino would have won. She always does something like that." "You're a good friend," Asuma said. "No, I wasn't. It took Naruto being transformed before I started to realize how badly I treated him, damn it, her. This is going to drive me crazy. Imagine how this is going to be for Naruto." Asuma smiled. "As long as we're there and Naruto can count on his friends." "Asuma-sensei, I don't think Naruto has any before now," Sakura said softly. "But he's got me now, and Ino too, I think." Asuma didn't call her on the slip of calling Naruto male. Hell, he thought of the blonde as a he still as well, it would take time for it to fully sink in. "We'll be there for Naruto," Asuma said. Sakura looked at the door. "Why is it so quiet now, when we could hear everything from before?" "I think the doctor activated the security seals on the room." "Oi, where is everyone?" Jonin and Genin turned to see Anko with a bag. "What took you so long?" Asuma asked. "You try clothes shopping for a girl that you barely got the measurements for, and let's see how well you do. We're going to need to do major shopping after this." Sakura nodded. Naruto will need clothes and everything. Asuma shuddered. He hated shopping, but he had promised to be there for Naruto, and this meant even for things like this. Anko was smirking, but Sakura asked something that's been bothering her. Why are you here? Anko looked at the girl and raised an eyebrow. Gaki didn't tell you? Tell me what? Sakura asked. Of course Naruto wouldn't say anything. Sigh. I'm one of Naruto's watchers. He's known me since he was little. I try to help when I can and I'm not on missions. The exam is the first time I've been able to see him in nearly a year. Anko dropped onto the bench sandwiching Sakura between her and Asuma. So you're the one who taught him that fighting style. Asuma said, recalling the stance the blonde had taken in the match against Kiba. Yeah, Naruto only uses it once in a while, preferring to keep what skills she has under wraps. Anko said, now I have another reason to kill my former sensei. Sakura was confused. If you've known Naruto, why? The council keeps interfering. Anko said softly. The Hokage can only do so much. But he's the Hokage. Sakura said, and the pair of Jonin felt sorry for her. And he's one man. An old tired man who is fighting an uphill battle against our own village to keep Naruto safe and alive. We'll talk more when we're not as exposed. Anko said. She looked at Asuma. I'm moving Naruto into my apartment. The council can go fuck itself. Good idea. All three jumped, seeing the return of the Hokage and Jiraiya. During the coming month Naruto is going to be getting training from several teachers. Jiraiya wants to teach her some things. Also during that time, Naruto will need to learn what it is to be a kunoichi. I can help. Sakura said. The Hokage smiled. Eboshi will be pleased, I'm sure. My lord. Anko said, standing. I request reassignment. Anko said, rising from the bench, then going to one knee. While I understand Master Jiraiya is a Sannin, Naruto and I approve. Anko. He looked at Asuma, and the Sarutobi males shared a thought and came to another agreement. Anko, I am giving you Jonin instructor status. Your team will be Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno. You will work in conjunction with teams 8, 9 and 10 for higher ranked missions, or borrow a third member depending on mission parameters. Anko smiled at this, while Asuma felt a chill run down his spine seeing that grin. You won't regret this, Anko said. You take care of them, Anko. Both of them, the Hokage said. Damn right I will, Anko muttered. Sarutobi knew he should never have allowed the council to keep Anko away from Naruto. The boy had flourished under her care in his early days. But once she was out of the way, the sabotaging of his ninja career began in earnest. Time to fix things, the Hokage thought. The door to the exam room opened and Eboshi exited. Do you have clothes for? Anko handed her the bag. She will be out in a moment. The door closed again. Anko sighed. I didn't get a bra, wasn't sure on her size. Sakura's eyes widened as Anko looked at her and smirked like a predator that just found a land full of sheep and no escape. You'll help her with that, Pinky. Sakura sputtered. Naruto rejoined them dressed in baggy pants and a black shirt, her battered jacket tied around her waist. Sakura smiled seeing the pout on the blonde's face. What's wrong, Naruto? Naruto shot a look over her shoulder at Eboshi, who came out. The blonde yelled, pointing at Hokage's personal doctor. She's an old pervert. Eboshi shook her head. I had to do a full exam, kiddo. She handed the file to the Hokage. 100% female, and her chakra has stabilized even more. The Hokage looked the file over and raised an eyebrow seeing something. She's a virgin, and as I said in your office, she just started her period. I've given her the standard injections that all kunoichi get. She'll need it every 3 months. The Hokage nodded. I've also made me Naruto's primary physician from now on. Now, while you get her clothes and other things, I think it's time I have a nice long talk with the rest of the staff. The Hokage panicked in the thought of shopping and pulled out a scroll and handed it to Asuma. Tell the shops to send the bills to me when they're done. I think it best if I help Eboshi here with the medical staff. Asuma realized what his father had done, and he knew there was no way now he would be able to escape. Anko didn't help matters either. Don't worry, Asuma. I won't tell Kurenai you spending the day shopping with 3 hot kunoichi. He flinched and Naruto looked around. 3? You, Sakura and who? You Gaki. Anko said. I'm a girl. I always wanted a sister anyways. Anko said with a grin, putting an arm around the blonde's shoulders. Now, while we're doing this, we're going to set a few ground rules. Ground rules? Naruto asked. Well, you're moving in with me for one thing. The council can go and get a Hokage Tower enema for all I care. Anko said, leading the blonde away. Sakura followed, still processing that the insane Jonin would be her sensei. Asuma brought up the rear. He looked for Jiraiya, but the toad sage was already gone. Damn, he thought. Reaching into a pocket, he realized he was out of cigarettes. Double damn. In the words of my student, this is troublesome. No boys in your room with the door closed. Anko said. Ew. Anko, I like girls. Naruto's voice carried, and Asuma had a mental picture, and with Naruto's new looks and as close as she was to Anko, the Jonin instructor of Team 10 rocked back with a nosebleed from hell and the thought of the blonde and another female together. He hadn't noticed Sakura's dribble of blood, as the young Kunoichi wiped it away and shook herself. Why do I have to wear a bra? Anko doesn't? Naruto argued as Sakura handed the blonde several styles to try. Actually, the mesh I wear is tight enough so I don't need a bra. Anko said from where she was leaning against the wall. Asuma was outside. He'd rushed out the minute the girls started talking about bras and panties and Naruto's comments of, "Doesn't that hurt wearing that?" Or "Where's the rest of it?" "I'd suggest sports bras," Anko said to Sakura. "Naruto's too active to wear those flimsy things," she said, seeing the lace undergarments. "But what about when she's not on a mission or training?" Sakura asked. "I'm sure Naruto won't wear the same clothes all the time." "I have before," Naruto said. "And why can't I have orange?" "No orange. Since we're getting you a whole new wardrobe, we're building you a proper closet full," Anko said. Seeing the cute pout, Sakura went and came back with several pairs of orange bras and panties. "Here, you can wear these under those dark clothes we picked out." Naruto looked at the clips and then at Anko. Why do girls wear such tortuous clothes if they're this uncomfortable? Hell if I know. If you notice, I'm not the most feminine kunoichi out there. Naruto sighed. She slipped back into the changing room and was quiet until. How'd I hook these? Anko smirked as Sakura closed her eyes and stepped into the changing room. Who would have thought? She smirked. In the changing room, Sakura froze. I think I prefer the sports bras. These clasps are tricky, Naruto said, and Sakura was frozen in place watching the blonde act like a contortionist, pushing her chest out more as she arched trying to hook the clips right. Licking her dry lips, Sakura had to admit Naruto had a figure that girls her age would kill for. Hold on, Sakura said, going behind her to hide her blush and traitorous thoughts. She unhooked the bra, and saw that Naruto had missed the loop and it only had one hook in. Perhaps we should get you some tube tops instead, Sakura suggested. Or you could do wraps. Sakura-chan, what do you do? Naruto asked. That's none of your business. She raised her hand to thump the blonde and stopped, seeing her cringe. Oh god, I'm sorry, Naruto. She lowered her hand and backed up. I'm sorry. It's okay, I'm sorry for asking, Naruto said softly, her back to Sakura. She grabbed a sports bra and slipped it on, then the black sleeveless crop top and cargo pants, rushing from the changing room. Naruto, wait, Sakura lowered her eyes. She raised them quickly when Anko kicked the changing room door in. What the hell did you say or do to her? The special Jonin hissed. The blonde had rushed out of the store, and only stopped because Asuma had grabbed her arm and pulled her back. The blonde cried into his chest and railed that it wasn't fair, and he lost track after that as she seemed to speak at a rate that was far too quick. Anko came out and looked at Asuma. Pay for the shit on the counter, she said, and took Naruto down the street. He watched as the woman that Enbu feared was talking softly to the blonde, who shook her head. Asuma entered the store, seeing Sakura at the counter with several bags. Everything okay? He asked. No, Sakura said, looking away. Naruto asked a question, and I felt self-conscious and reverted to how I was and almost hit her. Kami, I am such a shallow bitch. No, you're not shallow, Sakura. You're a girl that has had to reevaluate all she's known. I'm sure Naruto, if she wasn't being assaulted by all these new emotions, feelings and the fact hormones, would be forgiving you. But right now she's on a roller coaster. Sakura sniffled. I have to change, Sakura said. I can't act like that. Naruto needs a friend so badly. All she's suffered, and then I pull my psycho self. Asuma patted her shoulder. It'll work out. He looked at the bags. We done? We need hygiene products and Asuma handed her a roll of Ryo. Nope, you can get what she'll need. The Jonin shuddered at entering the pharmacy and getting lotions, and such, and he pitied Naruto who was about to get a crash course. Sakura looked at the Ryo, her eyes wide. We're not getting that much. Get whatever you'll need, I just don't want to know. Sakura smiled. Never went shopping with Ino? Nope, I leave that to her parents. I bribed Kurenai to speak with her about kunoichi standards as she would know better than I. Sakura sighed. I wish Kakashi had done that. He handed me a pamphlet and said good luck. Asuma closed his eyes cursing a certain white-haired Jonin. I'll have Anko and Kurenai speak to the two of you, and spend time answering your questions. He said, the two of you have been ignored and mishandled for so long. Thank you, Sakura said. It's okay. Now, let's go make sure Anko hasn't corrupted Naruto. She wouldn't do that, Sakura said. Oh, not like that. I mean taking her drinking and eating dango. Asuma said. Sakura was surprised to see Anko's apartment looking so normal. The special Jonin must have seen the look as she smirked. What did you expect, bondage equipment on the walls? Torture devices instead of furniture? And no, well, maybe. Sakura admitted. Naruto walked in and dropped onto the couch. The whisker-marked blonde sighed. I hate shopping, she declared. Anko laughed as Asuma followed them in huffing and puffing, carrying nearly 30 bags between his hands and his back. Ah, Asuma, thanks. Anko said with a smirk. The smoking Jonin had made a comment outside the chemist's and Anko had blackmailed him into carrying all the bags while she and Naruto talked and Sakura was dragged along. Just put them down there, we'll move them to Naruto's room once we straighten it up. Asuma dropped the bags and sighed as his arms tingled from the loss of weight. I hate you, Anko, he muttered. Anko blew him a kiss and motioned for him to sit. So? Sakura asked as she took a seat next to the blonde. They'd been rather quiet after getting hygiene products and her blow-up in the clothing store. We'll need to set up a schedule for Naruto. Not only does the blonde yelled. Anko fired back. You're a girl, Gaki. Get it in that cute little head of yours. There's no going back. Naruto crossed her arms over her ample chest and pouted. Asuma closed his eyes at the images and knew in his gut the blonde was going to be a heartbreaker all over Konoha and not even try. As I was saying, Asuma said with a deep breath. He pulled out a pack of cigarettes he'd picked up while waiting, but Anko's look had him put it away. Not only will Naruto need to retrain her skills, but learn what being a kunoichi is about. Why can't that wait until after the exam? Naruto asked. I mean, I don't want to waste time on useless things when I could be getting stronger. Asuma sighed. You need to know your body before you can do anything, Naruto. Your chakra paths are different, your physical strength is different as is your balance. Anko's, she's top-heavy with those knockers, was heard despite being mumbled. Naruto being Naruto smirked. Jealous mine are better than yours? Anko smirked. You don't want to play that game with me, you know I'll win. Naruto deflated. Yeah, Sakura shook her head. And we also will be doing team training as well, Naruto. Anko's our new sensei and she won't treat us like Kakashi. Naruto mumbled as she looked at the coffee table. You still have this old thing? Anko smiled. Of course I do. You got it and fixed it up and varnished it for me. I love it. Huh? Sakura and Asuma looked just as confused. Naruto a couple years ago for my birthday got this table out of an abandoned home. It was beat up and faded. He spent weeks sanding it and then staining it before giving it to me. Kid's a natural with woodworking. Naruto shrugged. Not hard when I had to fix my apartment up all the time, bound to learn something. Sakura put a hand on her teammate's shoulder. You're not going to be alone, Naruto. The blonde sighed and stood. I'm going to see my room. Anko watched her go down the short hallway. I want to kill Kakashi and the council. She growled. Leave those fossils to the old man. Asuma said. And Hatake? Anko asked. We'll figure something out. Naruto sat on the bare bed in the guest room that would now be his. He'd stayed there when his apartment had been badly vandalized at times and it would take time to fix. Home sweet home, she muttered. Sitting with her back against the headboard, she brought her knees up and hugged them as tears slowly fell as it was sinking in that Naruto Uzumaki was now a girl. Her forehead touched her knees and she cried silently. Konoha General Hospital. Kurenai stood at the foot of the bed. Her gaze looking at her genin was cold. I taught you better than that, Kiba, she said. The Inuzuka heir was admitted with crushed testicles and was scheduled for surgery the next day. Don't even try to make excuses. She hissed. I informed your mother and sister. The boy winced at this. You will make a formal apology to Naruto. She's been traumatized enough with what happened and then you do that to her, a fellow Konoha nin. Kiba said weakly. I don't know if I can trust you on my team Kiba. Kurenai said. With myself and Hinata as kunoichi, it's bad enough we have to expect that kind of behavior from enemy nin and bandits. But from our own teammate, I don't think either of us would feel safe after that display you put on in the arena. Kiba was quiet, he knew messed up. I'm sorry sensei, he said after she'd fallen quiet. That's not good enough Kiba. She said coldly. After you are out of here, the Hokage wants to have words with you. Kiba winced again. I know I did wrong sensei, but why does the Hokage? Because he sees Naruto as his grandson. Kurenai roared. You better pray to Kami that the Hokage has calmed down by the time he sees you Kiba, or you visiting Ibiki might be the least of your worries. Ibiki? Kiba asked, his voice still rather high from the pounding his testicles had taken. The head of ANBU's interrogation squad. Kurenai said. The man who ran the first exam. Kiba swallowed. Your actions have consequences Kiba. Doing what you did, against a fellow Konoha ninja is grounds for interrogation to determine your fitness as a ninja of this village. Add in to who you did it to. Kurenai shook her head. I'll be back tomorrow after your surgery to check on you. Kurenai said. I had Shino take Akamaru back to your clan house where he's getting attention. Kiba silently nodded his thanks at that. How bad is everyone's reaction? He asked as she reached the door. Kurenai looked over her shoulder. Words spreading, she said. I wouldn't expect many of the female population to be very nice to you for the foreseeable future. The door opened and closed leaving Kiba alone with his thoughts. I did a doom thing. He thought and sighed, wincing as his crushed balls twinged as he thought of ways to apologize to Naruto for his behavior. The hospital staff was down to a skeleton crew. Retired medics were being brought in and after a grilling by Ibiki were allowed to resume jobs in the hospital. It would take a long time before the hospital recovered from she who wouldn't be named. Eboshi had castrated 6 doctors and punted a dozen nurses over the monument before the Hokage turned it over to Ibiki as it was a kinder form of torture. Jiraiya stood atop the Hokage tower, his mane of hair blowing behind him. Man Minato, your kid's got some of the worst luck. He thought as he took a swig from the jug. How the hell am I going to explain this to Tsunade? He muttered out. Best find her and let sensei tell her. He thought, thinking that would save him from his former teammates' wrath. Kakashi Hitaki looked at the memorial stone and sighed. I've lost them, he thought, the lecture from the Hokage in his office still ringing in his ears. He was allowed to train the Uchiha for the finals, and after that Sasuke Uchiha would be given over to a new instructor and team. Flashback. That's final Kakashi, Sarutobi said as he sat behind his desk. Why? Sarutobi looked at him. You ask me that after the way you've treated your students. I've done nothing wrong Lord Hokage. Granted I may have focused more on Sasuke, but the council has ordered. And that's another thing. The council has no business in ninja affairs. You deliberately sabotaged Naruto's career by ignoring him, and you did the same to Sakura. I was teaching them teamwork and Kakashi started but was cut off. And giving special training and scrolled to the Uchiha. My decision is final. Sakura and Naruto have a new sensei that is going to be spending time fixing your mistakes. Kakashi blinked and tried to think of an argument to keep his team. In the end he couldn't. End flashback. And now I have just Sasuke for the month. He thought, ignoring the fact that he had been planning on ignoring his other 2 students to focus on the Uchiha. What am I going to do Obito? He asked the stone. It didn't answer him back. Sakura stood in the doorway of Naruto's room the following morning. She'd gone home soon after Naruto went to her room. Oh, Naruto. She thought, seeing the blonde sleeping atop the bare bed. Anko was in there behind the blonde with a blanket over both of them. Anko had told her to just enter before she left last night. Maybe I should have stayed. Sakura thought, seeing the dried tear marks on the blonde's cheeks. Put the pot on, came the rough voice, causing Sakura to jump. She saw Anko with her eyes open. What? The rosette-haired girl asked. Coffee, in the kitchen. Turn the pot on, Anko said, her voice scratchy. Sakura nodded and headed back the way she came. In the kitchen she checked and saw old grounds, so she dumped them and made fresh, and once she added the water, and turned on the coffee maker. She got a mug down hearing Anko moving about. "Morning sensei," she said, and the woman waved to her after coming out of the bathroom. "Kurenai will be here in a couple hours and we're going to start teaching Naruto how to use feminine products and about her body. If you don't want to do that, I have a couple of scrolls to start you with, as well as a schedule for you to follow to get in shape." Sakura saw them sitting on the counter and picked them up. "I won't lie, girlie, you're nearly as messed up in Naruto. His was through the actions of others. Yours are because you worried more over a boy." Anko sat with her first cup of coffee while Sakura read the outline for her training schedule. "You're going to teach me your style?" she asked, reading the basics for her taijutsu. "Yes," Anko said. "And Kurenai's going to help you with the genjutsu. Hell, Hitaki should have spoke to her after you passed your genin test." Sakura was realizing how badly Kakashi was as a sensei and how much he favored Sasuke. Deciding a change was in order, she asked, "How did Naruto sleep?" Anko sipped her coffee. "I won't lie. There were tears, some swearing." She put a hole in the wall by the closet where she hid it out of anger. Anko sighed. "Sensei, about Naruto, I mean, we can't keep calling her that name." "Why not?" Anko asked. "It's her name. Just because the wrappings changed, the mind is Naruto's. Leave her name alone, Sakura. It's the only thing she's got left, really." The pair were quiet while Anko finished the first cup of coffee and then started a second one. "I'm going to shower. Let Night-chan in when she gets here. Let Naruto sleep, she needs it after the day she's had prior to this." Sakura didn't know why, but she waited until she heard the shower before going to Naruto's room. She looked at the blonde, really looked, and saw the face without the metaphysical mask the blonde wore. She saw the pain and loneliness. "I have so much to make up for with you, Naruto." Breaking from her thoughts, she saw Naruto tossing in the beginnings of a nightmare and went and sat on the edge of the bed. She ran a hand up and down the blonde's back. "Shush. It's okay, Naruto. It's okay. You're safe," she said softly while rubbing the blonde's back like her own mother used to do for her when she was upset. Sakura sighed as the blonde calmed down and she heard a knock. Getting up, she made it to the door as it opened and Kurenai stood there. "Oh, Sakura," the red-eyed Jonin said. "Anko here? She's in the shower. Come in." "Sorry I wasn't there to get the door. Naruto was." She bit her lip, not sure what she should reveal. "Nightmares?" Sakura nodded. Kurenai paused and closed her eyes. She used to get them a lot when she was younger. With what has happened, I'm not surprised they're back. Kurenai moved about the apartment with a hint of familiarity. She left her jacket over the back of a chair and rapped on the bathroom door. "Anko, I'm here." Sakura couldn't hear the response from where she was, but Kurenai made an affirmative noise and went to Naruto's room. Sakura followed, wondering what the red-eyed Jonin of Team 8 was going to do. Sakura peeked around the doorframe and saw Kurenai holding Naruto. The blonde girl was sobbing and clutching Kurenai tightly. "It's okay, Ruto. Night-chan is here," she said soothingly. "No one will hurt you ever again. Anko and I won't let that happen." Sakura was realizing there was much about her teammate that she didn't know. How he seemed to know all the Jonin senseis, his connection to the Hokage. Not to mention the fact he was the now former container to the Kyuubi. That had caused the pink-haired girl to be really thoughtful of everything she'd seen growing up and how the adults had treated Naruto over the years. And now this. Teaching Naruto how to use the feminine products they bought yesterday had been loud, and it was a good thing Anko didn't have neighbors with the amount of yelling the blonde was doing. Add in, he asks, "Why? All the time as well?" Sakura thought as she nursed a bottle of water. She and Anko had left as Kurenai was giving Naruto kunoichi lessons from hygiene to ed. Thank Kami I don't have to listen to that. Sakura thought as she could image the blonde asking so many questions. But he's never had anyone sit down and tell him this. Anko had gotten Sakura chakra weights and some for Naruto. While Naruto is getting a wider range, we are building on the knowledge you got from the academy. With the hubby style and the strength enhancements, you will be a very deadly kunoichi when we are done. Anko said. Sakura could tell her new sensei was worried about the blonde, but they were told to stay away by Kurenai, who explained that this was going to be very embarrassing for Naruto as it was. Both of you are very important to him, as am I could let Eboshi do this, but Kurenai said it was a big sister's role to help the younger. And so Kurenai banished Anko from the apartment and told her to start Sakura's training and they would catch up to them when they were done. Breaks over Pinky, Anko said. Another 2 laps and then I'll show you the cool down stretches. Sakura groaned as her body protested and wondered how Naruto was doing. Konoha General Hospital. Kiba had not enjoyed the visit from his mother and sister. The lecture and scolding he got was nothing compared to what his mother threatened him with. If you misbehave like that, then it will be time to use the choke collar jutsu, she had said, and while he was bedridden, she had applied it. Hana waited till their mother left to speak with the doctor about Kiba's surgery when she rounded on him, her clawed hands grabbing him by his hospital gown. Damn good thing Naruto kicked your ass, little brother. Naruto is not only a fellow leaf nin, but he's been a dog friend since he was little. Trust me when I say that the kennels are not quiet with many of the dogs looking to have a few words with you. Kiba's eyes widened. Akamaru followed your orders, and while he's recovering he's going to have to think if he wants to continue to partner with you. What? Naruto is a friend to the dogs. You remember how many times we'd find him in the kennel petting the dogs and helping cleaning them up before you all started the academy? Kiba did remember. He remembered how he changed when he got to the academy and followed the other kids in being mean to Naruto, insulting him. Mother is finding out how Naruto is now that he's been turned into a girl. And you can bet your ass that you will be making a formal apology in public, and mean it. Kiba nodded. He'd been thinking about that since Kurenai-sensei had visited last night. Mother is also going to arrange for Naruto to visit the dogs and see if we can find her a companion to bond with. Why? Hana looked at him for a moment. That is Mother's decision as clan head, she finally said. Hana let him go and he winced as he fell back to the bed. Hana paced the room a moment, then picked up his chart and looked at it. She scanned it and whistled. Wow, she fucked you up good nut less. Kiba whimpered as his crushed testicles testified to the abuse they got. Along with minor concussion, cracked ribs. Hana continued. And from what your sensei said, Naruto held back. What? No way. He dead last, Kiba said. She never showed her potential and you better get it in your head to remember Naruto is now a woman, and in the pecking order of our pack, which is Konoha, if you're too stupid to remember that, she is alpha to you. Kiba slumped into the bed. She's right. Naruto owned me, even in class. Kiba started to think on how to apologize to Naruto. And she is hot, his mind thought. The twitch in his crotch told him thinking of Naruto like that is the wrong thing to do. Sume Inuzuka stood outside the apartment of Anko Mitarashi and hesitated. It had been several years since the blonde had come to the compound, but during his time growing up, he had been accepted by her clan as friend. The Inuzukas had always looked out for the blonde over the years. Minato would be disappointed with the civilians. She thought over the number of times one of the dogs would come to fetch her or another to help the boy when they found him beaten down. And now he's a she. Sume felt for the child. He had a burden none in the village could live with. The Aburame come the closest to know what it's like to have something inside you like that. She remembered the first time when she had come across the blonde. He was 3, and it was a cold winter. Flashback. Sume growled at the idiocy of the council. She was walking back from a meeting that had lasted more than 4 hours, and it was now nearly 10 at night. The snow was falling, obscuring vision to a couple of feet. Kuromaru padded along beside her. As her longtime companion, the two rarely were apart. Someone's ahead, probably someone else on the way home, she said. No, there's blood and pain, it's the fox. Sume growled. What's he doing out in this? Isn't he supposed to be in the orphanage like the other children? The dog and master walked into the swirling snow as the wind picked up. Kuromaru forged ahead in the deepening snow. Sume, trusting his nose, followed and they entered an alley. What she saw stopped her cold. Laying in the deepening snow in a freezing pool of blood was a body getting covered by snow, a small childlike body. Damn it, she hissed and dropped to her knees and rolled him over. She winced seeing the stab wounds. He's still alive, she said, feeling the pulse. He won't be if he's out here much longer. Kuromaru growled. Nodding, she scooped him up and looked at her companion. Lead the way, hurry. She couldn't believe the idiot civilians. She looked at the pale child in her arms and prayed they got back to the compound in time. End flashback. And he panicked when he woke up a day later, alive and warm. She cursed the civilian council and Kaharu and Homura, blocking all attempts at someone willing to adopt him. Well, the shit stops now. And I am doing what my sister wanted to do before she left and get him a partner. Sume missed her sister Rin, the only Inuzuka in a generation not able to bond with the Inuzuka ninja dog. And my idiot husband banishes her from the family when she kicked his ass without a dog. Shaking her head, the door opened and she was face to face with Anko. What? The special Junin demanded. I'm here to see Naruto. Sume said. Anko narrowed her eyes. I'm not real impressed with your family right now. Neither am I. Kiba will be making a public apology, and he will mean it. Sume told her. Anko blocked the doorway. I'm not. A voice from in the apartment called out. Let her in, Anko Ne-chan. She's a friend. Anko looked over her shoulder and Sume could see her weighing the words and nodded, stepping aside. Sume entered and waited, her hands at her side in an unthreatening manner. Hey. Sume got her first good look at the new Naruto. Hey pup, she said softly. Naruto seemed to break and lunged forward. Sume accepted her and hugged the blonde. Shush, I'm here. She stroked the blonde's longer hair. Anko watched as the blonde she felt was her sibling being soothed by a woman that clearly was a mother figure. It was an hour of Sume comforting the blonde before they actually talked. Naruto told her about how it happened, the response from Kakashi and what had happened during the preliminaries. Kiba is not getting off lightly, pup. Sume said. The whole kennel is pissed at him, especially how he's treated you since the academy began. She stroked the blonde's hair. So, the Hokage and Jiraiya confirmed that the fox is gone? She asked. Naruto nodded. Oji-san had the pervert run a series of tests. Anko spoke up. They figure the fox tried a last-ditch effort, and in the end merged with Naruto, with whatever the seal that the slimy bastard used that messed with the seal the fourth created. Sume nodded. Kurenai-sensei and Anko Ne-chan have explained things. Sume saw the look in the blonde's eyes and chuckled. And here Hana was looking forward to giving you the talk. Anko laughed and Naruto shuddered. So, what brings you here before 8 on a Sunday? Anko asked. I came to get Naruto a companion. Sume said. Said blonde looked up at her, blue eyes wide. Are really? Yes. And with the fox gone, I think we'll be surprised. She kissed the blonde's forehead. After you were born, Rin, my sister had a mark placed on your foot. Naruto smiled as he remembered Sume explained to Anko. Flashback. Why are you being so nice to me? A 5-year-old Naruto asked Sume as she sat him down and was teaching him to read and write. Because my sister marked you as a friend. Nani? Sume gestured to his left foot. That mark on your heel. She watched as the blonde bent and contorted his body to get a proper look at the mark on his heel. She laughed as he rolled over. My sister knew your family, and no, I can't tell you who they are, it's a double S-class village secret. Those that do know can't tell. Naruto pouted. But I can tell you, my sister Rin marked you, it's done from time to time. She was your godmother. Where is she? Why did she abandon me? Didn't she want me? The questions came at rapid pace as they usually did with the hyperactive blonde. Rin died shortly after you were born on a mission to Kiri. If she had lived you would have lived with her, I am sure. And never doubt, pup, the moment you were born, Rin loved you as if you were her own. On that day Naruto learned that he had lived with Rin till her death. With that mark you are clan friend. Then came the heartbreaking of telling him that he could visit, but the civilian council prevented him from being adopted. Every time he came it broke Sume's heart when it was time for him to go. End flashback. So, can we? Naruto asked Anko. We've been working hard all week. My chakra control is awesome. Anko looked at the big blue eyes and knew that she could deny the girl nothing. Let me get dressed. Anko mock growled in annoyance. Sume smiled. I'll even feed you. Anko snorted. Your food bill will increase. Sume smiled. I'm used to feeding the pup here at least once a week. Naruto went to get ready, leaving Anko and Sume alone. How is she doing really? Sume asked after they heard the shower start in Naruto's room. She has moments, Anko said. Seeing the look on Sume's face she corrected her. Nothing from your brat. It's more the less stress from learning to be a girl when her mind is still locked in the male way. Sume sighed. When I heard what Kiba did, it took all my control to keep not only myself from doing something I'd regret, but I nearly unleashed the hounds on Kakashi when Kurenai told me how Hitaki behaved. Anko nodded. The old man's made me promise not to do anything about the past, but now. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Sume said with a very feral grin that Anko matched. The message between the two women was clear: no one would harm the blonde further. The two sipped tea. Anko looked at the older woman. So, you tried to take him in as well? Yes. The damn civilian council blocked all attempts. Their excuses were lame, but the judge allowed it. She sighed. And by the time he entered the academy, he'd been living alone for so long. Anko nodded. I moved her in here for protection. The Gaki won't admit it, but she's vulnerable, emotionally and physically. Sume growled. Anyone tries what Kiba did during the exam and there won't be enough to use a sponge to wipe up. I am serious, Anko. I was ready to kill my own son for what he did. Anko swallowed. I've heard some of the other kunoichi talking when I've been on duty or getting groceries. She said softly. Your son might very well need to go abroad to find a wife when he's older. That's if the kunoichi leave him with his manhood. I think Naruto solved that. Sume admitted. The doctors managed to save his testicles, but it's going to be some time before he's able to use them. Sume chuckled. She really stomped him good. Anko nodded. She'd been there watching as the blonde had to be pulled off while kicking Kiba's balls in for his threatening of rape. Excusing herself, Anko went to get ready. I've got to see this, she said, and Sume smiled. The kennels are eager to see Naruto. She made friends with all the dogs in the clan. She really is a gentle soul. It's one thing I hope that didn't break in this. Konoha General Hospital. Hinata entered Kiba's room. She'd spent the week being verbally lambasted by her father about how weak she was. She looked at her teammate. He'd just been brought back after surgery and wasn't awake. Making her decision, Hinata activated her Byakugan and stepped further into the room, the door closing with a click behind her. They watched as the blonde was swarmed by dogs, wagging their tails and barking in greeting to a longtime friend. Anko was amazed, but more so she was happy to see a genuine smile on the blonde's face for the first time in the week since she moved in. Dogs licked and barked, and she could swear that Naruto was answering a question as she talked to each dog. The Gaki does understand them. What? Anko asked, turning to Sume. Naruto. She understands them. Rin's gift to him. Damn it, her. Sume said. Anko smirked. Don't feel bad, I still do it. Hell, the brat still calls herself he. Sume watched as the elder dogs calmed the younger one. She looked around. Where's Kuromaru? She asked. Kana General Hospital. Hinata raised her hand, the strike about to descend. I wouldn't do that if I were you. She jumped back from Kiba's bed and looked around, not seeing anyone there. Down here, girl. Hinata looked down, and under the bed she noticed for the first time a large dog with an eye patch. She recognized the dog as Kiba's mother's dog, Kuromaru. She tried to say. You are going to remove the pup's manhood for what he did to Naruto. Kuromaru said, his head still down on his paws, his eye closed. Why, yes, she admitted, lowering her head, her chin resting on her chest. You and every female has the same idea. The pup's mother has first crack, followed by his sister. The dog said. Truthfully, it will be Naruto that decides his fate. Hinata closed her eyes. So it's true. Naruto-kun is female now. Yes. His scent changed, and whatever caused it is permanent. The large dog said. She will need her friends around her more than ever. Are you her friend, Hinata? She wasn't surprised that the dog knew her so well. I want to be more than Naruto-kun's friend. She thought. Why, yes, I want to be there for her. Kuromaru gave a chuckle. Then let's go. Leave the pup alone, he's in for a rough time ahead. Undisclosed location. Sasuke Uchiha was not happy. His sensei, after months of giving him all he asked for, had stopped and was only working with him on his speed. I need to get stronger. Why now has he stopped? The said Uchiha gave no thought to his teammates. They were beneath him now, and he was close to getting power. The mark on his neck throbbed, but his only response was to grunt and went back to the lame exercise that Hitaki had left him with while he vanished. TCH. Probably went to wank off to his porn again. He thought. I will get stronger, and I will kill you, brother. Inuzuka compound. Laughter. SS stop. Laughter. Naruto was being slobbered on by several of the dogs. Sume clapped her hands and the dogs began to back off. Well, the older ones did. The younger ones took a nip in the side from the older dogs before complying. Naruto took a moment to gather herself and wipe off the drool from the dogs. Sume walked up and handed her a towel. They missed you. The blonde shrugged and wiped herself off. They've all grown so much since the last time I'd seen them. Naruto said, giving some of the more energetic ones a grin. Come on, let's get you to the showroom. Sume said, steering her towards what looked like a mini arena. Hey, are you sure? I mean, well, Kiba and I am the head of this family pup. And Kiba's on a choke chain for his behavior. As for my deceased husband, he too has nothing further to add to this. Anko followed, not certain what to think of what wasn't being said. Elsewhere, Sakura Haruno sighed as she walked the streets. She had gone to Anko's apartment to check on Naruto, but found the pair out. I wonder where they went. Sensei said that today we had off. Sakura looked around the village and she'd seen some of the others' participants. That Suna girl was stalking Ino Pig's teammate, Shikamaru. And I saw Hinata coming from the hospital with an Inuzuka dog. She must have been seeing that bastard Kiba. She growled, remembering what that boy had done during the exam. I mean, yeah, she's his teammate, but I'd rather drive a kanai somewhere right now than be associated with someone like him. She sighed as she continued to walk. It's been a weird week. Naruto's now a girl, and I'm confused about that. Sakura hugged herself as she walked. I mean, I treated her badly when she was a boy, but there's something vulnerable about Naruto now that. Shaking her head, she saw she was outside the flower shop. Might as well visit with Ino Pig. Not like either of us have anything else to do today. She entered. Hey, Pig. Inuzuka compound. Show arena. Like what you see? Sume asked. For the last half hour many of the dogs put on displays of what they could do. Commands they followed and basic just showing off. Naruto was sitting surrounded by 3 Inuzuka house dogs. Her hands were petting one of the gray dogs. Blue eyes taking it all in. Yes, the blonde said. Anko was just behind her shaking her head. Pick one. A dog is a dog after all. That got her looks from Sume, Naruto and the gathered dogs. What? Anko Ne-chan, is that like a snake is a snake? Naruto finally asked. What are you talking about? Each snake is unique and different with, she calmed and sighed. Sorry, she said, realizing what she had said. Naruto looked back at the gathered dogs. Yurikamaru, he called. A slender female dog came forward. She was the size of a fox and her golden-colored fur was soft. She's only 3, Sume warned. She hasn't learned to talk like the older ones. That's okay, Naruto said. She's from Kailala's litter. Sume sighed. Kailala had been very protective of Naruto, but she was an older dog. She'd passed away one winter. Naruto had been unable to visit due to Sume's husband banning him. My idiot of maid always called Naruto the fox. He never listened to the pack. All the dogs loved the boy, but that baka of a husband didn't listen. She sighed as Naruto hugged the young dog and smiled. They will be a good match. Kailala's pups share her disposition and most of them know of Naruto and love him like their alpha. Alright you lot, she's chosen, Sume called out. She watched as the dog and Naruto were forming the bond even now, as they stared into one another's eyes. Yurikamaru leaned in and bit Naruto on the shoulder. Anko moved as if to intervene, but Sume blocked her. No, this needs to be done to form the communication bond. In time they'll share chakra and they will be empathic with one another. Anko watched as Naruto didn't make a sound and the dog pulled back and then licked the wound, even as Naruto's healing factor healed it, leaving a pale white scar. That's never happened, Anko thought, recalling the previous attacks that had been healed. Now, let's get you a collar and get her checked out. Hana of course will want to prescribe a diet. Yurikamaru snorted and Naruto smirked. Don't worry Eureka-chan. I'll make sure big bad Hana-chan don't stab you with too many needles. The golden-furred dog huffed and Naruto laughed. A matched set, Anko said. They both hate shots, she explained to Sume's curious look. The pups always hated doctor's visits, and Yurikamaru's been the same when it came time to see the vet. Both women laughed as Naruto dragged his companion towards the clinic across the compound, Yurikamaru's growls getting snickers from all who saw them. Hokage's office. Are you certain? Yes, Lord Hokage. Orochimaru's been reported spying on the Uchiha, and intel shows that he plans to strike during the 3rd exam. The Hokage sighed. I'm getting too old for this. He muttered. Get me Jiraiya. Anko growled and was answered by a returning growl from the newest addition to her apartment. Brat, if that dog. Relax Ne-chan, said Blonde grinned coming out of the shower. Eureka-chan is just keeping you honest. I will not sneak around my own apartment just because your dog is a prude. Anko ranted. She just doesn't think you should walk around naked. Naruto said. It's my apartment. Naruto shrugged with the towel wrapped around her and went back to her room. Why didn't you use the shower in your room? Anko called as she came out in a bathrobe which the dog didn't mind. I gave Eureka a bath last night, and I need to clean the drain out later before it can be used again. Naruto said, coming out dressed in a pair of cargo shorts and a crop tank top. The blonde had her long hair in a top knot and was carrying her belt and holsters as well as several rolls of tape and wraps. So we're going to see how my chakra is and how many shadow clones I can make today, right? Anko nodded, sipping her coffee. After lunch Jiraiya is supposed to come by and work with you as well. Something the Hokage set up. Naruto frowned as she wrapped her lower legs and slipped on the new combat boots. What's wrong? Anko asked. I know Jiraiya is a Sannin, but can't I work with you and Sakura-chan instead? Anko blinked. Something wrong? No, maybe. Naruto sighed, wrapping her other leg. We're not abandoning you, Naruto. Anko said, tilting the blonde's face towards her with a light finger touch under the chin. But Jiraiya is a master at seals and he taught the fourth Hokage. You can learn a lot from him. Naruto shrugged and sighed. Tell you what, Pinky and I will be there as well. Naruto nodded, then asked. How is Sakura-chan doing? Well, she has such a small chakra reserve. We've been working on exercises to build that up. I've also got her working out and building her stamina and strength. Naruto nodded. She needs it as badly as I needed control exercises before the furball bit. How's your taijutsu coming? Anko asked. Now that I don't have to hide, it's coming along better. Naruto admitted. And with my chakra control nearly perfect now, it's amazing how much chakra I don't waste anymore. I'm even able to do regular bushins. I can't make less than 10, but it's getting better. So, Kurenai's been helping you a lot then? Naruto nodded. She's been really patient talking about things. Naruto's blush told the snake mistress that Naruto was still weirded out about female things. Night-chan is cool about that. I'm glad you have someone more feminine than me to talk to. Naruto smiled to his friend and adoptive big sister. Yurikamaru padded into the kitchen and barked. Anko scowled and looked at the dog a moment before there was a knock at the door. If you're so great, answer it. She told the dog. That gave her a flat look before heading back to Naruto's room. Damn dog. Anko muttered as she went to see who was at their door so early in the morning. Opening it, she saw two people she wasn't expecting. Hitaki. Uchiha, she said flatly. Sakura yawned as she finished getting ready. Talking with Ino yesterday helped a lot. We do need to get Naruto out and about. She really needs to do more than hang out with Anko-sensei and train all the time. Sakura looked at her hair, which had been styled after the butchery she'd done to it during the second exam. Need to get to Anko-sensei's. Sakura thought, seeing the time. Grabbing her weapons pouches and scroll pouch, she also remembered her chakra weights and was out the door just as her mother woke for the day. What the hell do you want? Anko asked, blocking the opening with her body, her hand behind the door grabbing the hidden kunai. Now Anko, there's no reason to. Kakashi began, but her bare-footed kick to his masked face sent him flying backwards over the rail to the ground below. Her second kick had the Uchiha doing the exact same thing. Get the hell out of here, Hitaki, you and that shitstain with you aren't welcome here. Anko hissed like one of her summoned serpents. Kakashi groaned as he sat up. Anko, please wait, I need to ask. Don't care. You dug your grave, go lay in it. The special Chunin snarled as she sent a volley of kunai at the pair. Kakashi saw the danger and grabbed the stunned Sasuke and shushined them away. They appeared across the street. Anko, please, I just need to get the fuck away from here and never bother me nor my student again. Anko said as she flipped over the rail and landed on the ground, sending more kunai at Kakashi. Sakura rounded the corner and froze. The street looked like a war zone and she blinked at what she was seeing. There in the middle of the street in a bathrobe was Anko, and trapped in the snake hand jutsu was none other than Kakashi, who had snakes wrapped around his face and smoke was clearing from obvious smoke bomb detonations. Sasuke was off to the side, dazed. "S-sensei?" Sakura said, approaching slowly. "Go to the apartment and wait there for me, Sakura." Anko said in a very cold voice that made Sakura recall her during the start of the second exam, as she never once took her eyes off the trapped Chunin. "Tell Naruto to stay inside as well. I'll be up once that idiot Enbu gets back with reinforcements." Sakura paused and Anko sensed it. Move. The snake mistress barked and Sakura made an eep sound and rushed up the stairs to the waiting doorway and entered and closed it behind her. She looked and saw Naruto standing by the curtained window, peeking out near the edge. "Morning, Sakura," the blonde greeted. Sakura was about to greet the whisker-marked blonde when a low deep growl had her turn to see a dog baring its fangs. The gold fur around the neck was on end and the collar had the leaf symbol. "Yurikamaru, behave," Naruto said, not looking away from the window. "Sakura-chan is my friend and teammate." The dog made a huffing sound then stepped forward. Sakura's eyes widened. "Let her sniff you and get your scent, Sakura. Eureka's a good girl, she's just looking out for me," Naruto said, and Sakura waited as the dog sniffed her hands and legs. After what seemed like an eternity, the golden-furred dog backed away and hopped on the couch, only to hear, off the couch, "Eureka-chan. You can lay on my bed only. Anko ne-chan's rules," Naruto said again without looking. Sakura watched the dog enter Naruto's room before moving herself. "Sensei says to stay in here until she comes back." Naruto nodded, but didn't say anything. Sakura felt nervous with the silence, so spoke. "So, Kakashi-sen, Kakashi and Sasuke-kun showed up, what did they want?" Naruto shrugged. Anko ne-chan didn't give Kakashi a chance to speak. The blonde said softly, her blue eyes dulled. "Bastard can't just leave it alone. I finally have someone teaching me something and he brings the Uchiha to get the attention again." Sakura felt for her friend. Over the week she had really thought about the dynamics of Team 7, and without Sasuke around she'd really thought about her ninja career as Anko drilled her into the ground with training to get her up to par. "Sensei is dealing with it. Now come over to the couch and tell me about the dog and how your day off went," Sakura said, and Naruto finally turned from the window. "And what's with the top knot?" Sakura asked. Naruto looked perplexed and Sakura gestured to the top of her head. "Oh. Well, it keeps it out of the way. Anko ne-chan and Kurenai-sensei said I can't cut it to what I had when you were a boy." Sakura thought and patted her friend's hand. "You have to admit, that style wouldn't fit you now," Sakura said. Naruto nodded. "Sume, Kiba's mom, who I knew for several years before the academy, came and offered me a companion. She figured with the fox gone." Naruto paused. "I was given a mark by an Inuzuka long ago. It means I'm pack friend in the simplest form." Naruto sighed and looked up when Yurikamaru put her head in her lap. Naruto smiled as her fingers stroked the dog's fur. Sakura knew there was more than that, but could tell that it hurt Naruto to remember past events. It's like damn it, she doesn't have happy memories, or if she does, they're connected to painful ones. The pink-haired girl looked at the blonde. Changing the subject, Sakura asked, "So, your training, how is that going?" Naruto smiled. "Getting used to my real style now that I'm not hiding and I don't have to worry about the fox. Anko ne-chan wants to see my chakra control and how many cage bunchins I can." They were interrupted by an explosion from the street. Both teens and dog rushed out the door to see Sasuke standing over Anko with a feral grin, her back smoking from the obvious Kaden attack. Kakashi was sitting up shaking the cobwebs from his head. "Bastards!" Naruto yelled as he leapt from the balcony and shouted, "Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu!" Kakashi winced as it rained over 1,000 Narutos upon him and Sasuke, who was blasted by Naruto with an spinning back kick and sent flying through a vendor cart and into a stand which collapsed atop of him. A melon splitting open upon his head. Kakashi himself was buried and pummeled. Even fighting back, he was overwhelmed by sheer numbers. "Hey Baka X-sensei, here's a farewell present," Naruto's voice said, and Kakashi wondered what it was when he heard. "Konoha's secret technique, 1,000 years of death." Kakashi's eye widened 1 second before he was launched into the air where he was nabbed in an Anbu capture net. Naruto turned to see an Anbu grabbing Sasuke, while a medic nin was tending to Anko. Sakura looked on from the door of Anko's apartment with Yurikamaru. Naruto looked up, and Sakura shook her head. "I think you have no trouble making shadow clones," Sakura said, and the blondes around the street grinned at her and Sakura felt it was endearing. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.